So much thicker. than the one we had.
I don't know. Mine is a little bit too.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, we are on the record. Today is Tuesday, the 22nd day of February, 2022. This is a regularly scheduled caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a planned 4 p.m. start, and the clock on my computer shows 4:08. I will now call the roll. Councilperson Ridley?
Here.
Councilperson Prinzari?
Here.
Councilperson Bogiano?
Yeah.
Councilperson Saleh?
Here.
Councilperson Solomon?
Here.
Councilperson Gilmore?
Here.
Councilperson DeGees? I saw her here.
Here. Sorry.
Okay. Council President Pro Tem Rivera?
Here.
And Council President Waterman?
Here.
Okay, we have all 9 council members in attendance. We have achieved a quorum. On behalf of Council President Waterman, in accordance with Chapter 231 of the New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, officially known as the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act, and more commonly known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this caucus meeting has been provided by posting the annual notice listing the schedule of municipal council meetings for the calendar year 2022 on the bulletin board on the first floor of City Hall. In addition, the annual notice was also filed with the Office of the City Clerk on Thursday, October 28th, 2021. The agenda of this meeting was disseminated to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and local newspapers on Thursday, February 17th, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. The agenda was concurrently posted on the city's website. Consequently, I can certify as to our complete compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President, how do you want to proceed? Should I just go off the top?
No, we'll take it as they sign in, John.
Okay.
Okay, Greg. Thank you, Greg.
Good evening, President Waterman, members of the council. I have 9 resolutions to speak on this evening. I sent each one of you a memo from what I'm going to be reading from now earlier today. First one is Resolution 22-120. That's 10.3. And that's for the contract of award to Grant Wright Management Corporation. They were our consultants that were hired on during the early stages of COVID. They were very successful in guiding us through the reimbursement process, and they also handle the federal funding associated with the rescue funding. Their contract is $240,000, and that's covered for 100% reimbursement under the federal guidelines.
Any questions? Go ahead, Greg. Next one.
Okay. Next one is 22-147, 10-30. This will award a contract to CD Government LLC to provide forensic software to the cyber unit, Jersey City Police. The software allows police personnel to fully examine locked encrypted devices on active crime scenes associated with criminal investigations. The associated cost is $50,945, and this is funded through the 2019 UASI grant.
Director, can you explain, without this software, what's happening in investigations and what specifically, I guess, types of encryption they are able to
Well, basically,
access?
as of late, and Director Shea can also, he's available to comment, we have encountered literally, and this is a systemic problem throughout the whole country, where cell phones are involved in major criminal investigations, photographs, phone numbers, and things of that nature. Obviously, when actors are taken into custody, the phones are used for evidentiary purposes. Before they can be examined, they have to be done so under the court order. And this type of system allows the investigators to open those phones and determine what, if any, evidence is on the phones pertaining to the crimes. Without this type of software, it's virtually impossible to do so.
And is this, and excuse my ignorance on this, but, in terms of our partnerships with the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office, do they have this software currently? And, what is the distinction between JCP?
We basically, due to the backlog that's not only on the state and the county level, fortunately, we have one of our officers who's assigned to the Cyber Task Force of the FBI. He's the one that oversees this operation and does a phenomenal job. There's been such a backlog in getting phones examined that it was holding up pending criminal investigations. When you have an active crime in place, it could be a matter of life and death getting information that's necessary out of that phone. So that's why it's very, very beneficial. We actually have been working with the prosecutor's office and the state very closely on this. So collectively, I think having this additional software in the system will help us all.
Any more questions? Next.
Yeah, is there, for 10-3, is there a reason why it's an emergency contract versus going out to bid?
I believe it was because it was initially awarded during we're still in the state of emergency, a health state of emergency. And based on the past performances of this particular company, it was decided we might as well stay with it. We've been very successful in obtaining. We've had them on board since the beginning stages of COVID back in 2020. And the intricacies of being able to go through all the federal requirements that's necessary for reimbursement, I think it's best to stay with the company who's done us the best services.
Next one, Director.
All right, the next one we have is 22-151, that's 1034. Resolution to authorize a month-to-month extension with Atlantic Northeast LLC to provide janitorial services to the Department of Public Works. It's a temporary encumbrance, which will be $100,000.
Director, is this the same company we've been using?
Yes, it is.
When did we most recently make a switch?
I'm sorry,
When
Councilman.
did we most recently switch vendors for
We've
janitorial
had this
services?
contractor, at least in my tenure down at Public Works, which is about 18 months.
Okay.
And I know there's been discussion about bringing the custodial people on board to Jersey City.
Right.
But for right now, until that takes place, obviously, we need the custodial services.
Okay.
Resolution 22-152, 10.35. This resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Air Brake Equipment to provide maintenance and repair of heavy-duty equipment, mostly fire apparatus and those types of vehicles, on the New Jersey state contract, and that's not to exceed $200,000. Many of the larger pieces of equipment require specialized training and expertise, and as I say, it's mostly related to larger fire apparatus.
Have we been able to hire anyone in-house to do that yet? Or
Yes, we have. The issue is, Councilman, is that many of these pieces of equipment require different types of apparatus, lifts, and things like that. If we have, what we try and do when we get a fire truck in, we try and get them out as quickly as possible. So in order to prevent a delay, we have the contractor, should our repairs not take place in-house.
Makes sense, thank you.
22-153, 1036. This resolution will authorize the award of a contract to City Auto and Truck, DBA as Bayonne Auto Parts, for the purchase and delivery of parts for heavy-duty vehicles on the New Jersey state contract not to exceed $400,000.
Director, is this the same vendor we've used?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great.
Resolution 22-154, 1037. This resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Patch Management for the rental of a patcher truck to perform repairs for potholes and roadways citywide on the New Jersey state contract not to exceed $200,000. I've been in conversation today with the director of automotive down here, Jim Lavero. Moving forward, we'd like to research the possibility of buying a truck. Unfortunately, right now with supply chains, the information he got, we're looking at potentially 12 to 18 months down the road. So hopefully, this will be the last time we have to use this contract. I'd rather have our own, with our own trained crews to go out and fix these potholes.
Director, just right now, is the patch truck out right now?
It is not.
It is not.
It's basically weather permitting.
Got it.
You have to have a certain temperature before you're able to, get in there.
Right.
If we get your break more towards the middle of March, hopefully.
Okay, great. And as, potholes are popping up on the roads now, what's the best way for us to alert DPW? And I don't know if
Just,
you guys are doing
if you
cold
send an
patch.
email, Council, we get it over to our buildings and streets people. We have a very good supervisor down there that pretty much deals with most of them, Brian Mills.
Sure.
So if you get it over to us, we'll make sure they're on the list. We're noticing them ourselves. It's just the type of weather,
Does DPW do cold patch when the weather is
They can.
supporting?
They can, but it doesn't hold. You're better off doing, hopefully getting that. If it's something big, emergency, we can do it. And we also engage the MUA. They have some of the equipment that, are contractors, they can get it done fast. But unfortunately, the weather's just been too cold, and they won't adhere.
Got it.
Let's see. 22-155-1038. This resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Toshiba Business Solutions, DBA as Data Card Systems. That's to purchase a mobile ID cloud-based identification card system required for inclusion into the New Jersey First Responder Credentialing System. The associated cost, $20,763.99, is funded through the 2019 UASI grant. And the last one I have is 22-156-10.39. Resolution will authorize the award of a contract to ActiveView Corporation. That's associated with the purchase of an ActiveView Gold support system under the GSA contract relevant to the Emergency Operations Center video wall. All the systems and components funded under the 2020 UASI grant. Total amount of the contract, $31,212.48. Basically, that is the contract. They come in, they service, provide all the different software updates. This contract, the gold level applies, allows us them to respond on to us on a 24-hour basis as needed.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Director Shea?
Good evening. I have four from last week that were withdrawn and are back on, and quite a few for this week.
Okay.
So,
Start with,
shall I start with the four from last week?
okay.
Okay, so the first one would be renumbered 1054-22-171. That's a resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by Atlantic Uniform Company for providing emergency protective equipment to the Division of Police. This is a resolution of a claim for equipment that was provided during the demonstrations. The police department purchased it during the COVID emergency and the demonstrations following the death of George Floyd in Minnesota. And it's $19,900 for disorder control, helmets, and shields.
That's 10.54. This is point 10.54, Rich. It's a different one. This is not the uniform. This is not. Okay. Any questions on this one, guys? Next one, Director.
What is the cost of what is the cost of it? I can't,
$19,900.
all right, 1054, all right.
Go ahead to the next one, Director.
You can go to the next one.
Okay.
10:55, go like that.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you. The next one is renumbered 1055-22-172. This is the purchase of 3 police interceptor vehicles for the Parking Enforcement Division. Total contract, $96,867. Funds are available in the capital accounts.
Will these vehicles have GPS installed in them?
All our vehicles have GPS in them.
Okay.
These will be for midnight enforcement, and this has been held up by the COVID emergency too, getting people to work, but these are the vehicles that are going to have the LPRs put inside them for the automatic reading of the plates as they go around to do the permit enforcement and to discover cars that are scofflaws.
10.56.
Ready for the next one, ma'am? Okay, 1056, renumbered 1056, 22173. This is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Millennium Communications for a surveillance camera upgrade at various Newark Avenue locations in Jersey City under the interlocal purchasing system for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. This is $128,277, and it is to do our upgrades and to run our surveillance system to expand it into the India Square area of Jersey City.
Where exactly, how many cameras exactly are going to be upgraded and or installed?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact number of cameras. This is an ongoing project for about the last 5 or 6 years. The cameras cost us the same every time. We go in phases. This is the next phase because we had a series of crimes and hate crimes, what could be classified as hate crimes in India Square last year. We decided to expand the system into the India Square area. So it's a standard price. They charge us the same per camera. It's a matter of how many we need, and then we have to run the wire up to them.
In each phase, does the same amount of cameras go up? Or
No, it depends on the funding available.
Okay, next one.
We've done most of it with the federal forfeiture funds and the state forfeiture funds. This probably falls under that too. We don't use capital money. We don't use budget money. This is what we apply. So it's already been approved by either the state or the feds or the federal system to use it as a crime reduction, crime mitigation system. Okay, no questions. The next one, renumbered 1057, resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Turnout Fire and Safety Incorporated for protective gear and equipment for firefighters under state contract for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire. The only thing unusual about this award for the council is that we're only going for 6 months. This is the award that guarantees they can replace our turnout gear in case of its contamination or destruction during an active fire. Turnout has to guarantee that they can replace it immediately so we can put the companies back out to work. It's usually a year award. We're only getting 6 months this year because with the supply chain issues and with the materials issue that's going on, they can't guarantee the price for more than 6 months. So it's state contract price, it's the guaranteed price, but we're going to go 6 months, and then it's going to have to be re-entered into 6 months from now. There is no one in the state willing to do more than 6 months right now. Okay.
10.58.
Okay, now I'm not sure which ones we have left.
Watts, 10.58. That is 22 dash.
Oh, the Watts is next? Well, I don't have the number. Nobody gave me a number on that one.
It's item 10.58, resolution 22-175. It's a late item.
Okay, so 5.8, resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by CNS Strategies for providing word on the street Watts software. That's a late item. I think that was pulled off previously too. That's our word on the street system that we use for citizens to make an immediate complaint and to track that complaint. Most of you are familiar with it. It was shut down on us for non-payment. Very importantly, all we pay is the storage. It's provided to us free. All we pay is we have to put our own map into it so that it knows where to go. That map storage is what we pay for. and the complaints so we can track them. So that should be $40,000, I believe. It was shut down for non-payment, and they turned it back on for us, but we do have to pay them for the storage or it's going to be shut down again.
So what happened with the payment? Because this is a service that our residents utilize regularly, and there was a lot of confusion when suddenly there was no response time with it.
Yeah, that's what happened. That'll require an investigation in various places, but apparently someone dropped the ball somewhere. It was submitted on time, and it just kept, and my understanding is it kept getting pulled, or it didn't reach up here, one or the other.
So this is just the regular storage payment? This doesn't
This is
include
ju-
any
yeah, this is-
upgrades or?
No, all this does is provide us the storage on the servers so it can be turned on and it can reach our map of Jersey City. And then when we handle a job, it stores that for us. So if a citizen complains about non-service, we can pull up how long their job took, when we responded. We have GPS on our cars so we can make sure our employees handled it in the way they claim they did, and the response. All that's saved in case there's a complaint.
When we had our last meeting, we discussed that you were working on getting the police department back on word on the street. Now, when that happens, is there an extra charge or it's the same thing?
No, same charge. Once we have our maps in there, it doesn't matter how many, we don't pay by license. We get it free, except for just storing our material.
So the 40,000 or the amount is for to discontinue service or to continue the service?
Yeah, it's to pay the storage that the company's already paid, that we should have paid, so that they'll allow us to continue using they're giving us the service free, but they're not going to also pay our storage costs on the service for it.
Yeah.
So the map and everything has to be on the service.
This is what you call paying a bill late.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the process, like, how have we been paying for it? How we don't know where the ball was dropped?
We have to search the process.
Yeah, we'll have to search from the time we put it in to see whether it was pulled and nobody ever looked at it again, or whether something else happened.
So when you conclude the investigation or whatever the process is to find out why this wasn't paid, because it looks like it was for arrears for 2020 and 2021, please send that to council.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, just send it to us so we get it.
And I just wanted to clarify too, Director, so is this $2,000 a month charge for data, is that the ongoing fee now, so for 2022?
Yeah, that'll be what we pay unless we decide to take it over and put it on our own servers, which is an option.
Sure,
It's an option for us, and then we'd own it.
right,
How much would
But
that
then
be?
we'd also own the upkeep and the maintenance,
right.
which could cost more.
Sure, understood. I don't ever, and include this potentially in the investigation or not, but I don't ever recall us as a council approving a contract. And I think we're happy with word on the street, right? It's been a thing that our constituents use regularly. They always have their complaints, but on the whole, it's a positive. But I'm not sure we've ever seen like a contract saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We're doing the data storage for $2,000 a month, or we're trying to get the IP, or what's going on.
Yeah.
So, Councilman, I could speak to that. The former administrator had engaged this vendor for this product, and at first it was just a concession where it was free of cost.
Yep.
And then we learned later on that we'd have to pay some of these storage fees. So that's kind of probably, in the investigation, it'll show that it was actually under the administrator's office, then delegated to public safety, and it's probably where the mishap happened. But I'll work with purchasing to see if we have to put some kind of ratifying agreement upon.
Okay. Next one.
Okay, that's, okay, next, resolution authorize, I think we took care of that one, right? 59's done, right?
59.
Okay. 60 should be done, the
Is that
COVID
you?
test kits, that's not mine.
Is that Greg? Is that Director Kears? Greg, is that you, 59? Because I know you was up here. I didn't know if you missed one. I'll just come back to it.
No, I got it. All right. Greg, if you want to stay, though, I don't care. So 59 is a resolution authorizing the Jersey City Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security to accept a grant from the United States Department of Homeland Security and the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness through the UASI Urban Area Security Initiative Grant Program to support emergency preparedness. Greg, anything else on that?
That's it.
This is just the UWASI grants that we
Right.
work under frequently.
This is,
This is our yearly grant. We get the base of 1.5, and there's some added funds that are also going to be added into this for additional initiatives.
okay. Any questions?
Okay, that's just accepting the grants.
10.6.
Okay, 1060, 22177, resolution ratifying an emergency contract award to McKesson Medical Surgical for the purchase and delivery of COVID test kits due to the rise in COVID cases for the Department of Public Safety, Division of OEM. That's standard, that's just the test kits, and that all gets reimbursed under the COVID Act.
Which one is this?
Let's say 1060.
60,
Item.
22177.
Are these, Director, are these rapid tests, or are these the PCR tests?
It has to be the rapid, we can't do the PCR.
This is actually a combination of, this is at the direction of Director of Health Stacy Flanagan. It's a combination of rapid tests and also for flu testing.
Okay, got it. And with just, Director, is there a reason, and I don't, we have other vendors on testing, and then this was done as an emergency contract. Do you know why this was an emergency contract?
A lot of it has to do with supply chain. I mean, what we deal with is companies that, when we make the inquiry, we want to make sure that they have the product in hand that are able to supply it. In the past, we've learned that people will commit to supplying it, and we wait 5-6 months, which obviously in this case we can't afford to do.
And was this done specifically when Omicron hit, or has this been, more, is this forward-looking, is this backwards-looking, this specific purchase of tests?
Let me take a look at the, yeah, McKesson actually works, they're a subcontractor of V.E. Ralph,
Okay.
who is a county stationed equipment company that they're located in Kearney. And there again, in this case, McKesson had the ability to supply the product. That's what it comes down to. We deal with tremendous supply chain issues. One of our big medical vendors we use is located right here in Jersey City. And we continue to use her because she's able to supply the product. During COVID stages, as you may recall, we were probably one of the first cities that had, the amount of masks and gloves and all the other stuff in stock. And we try and stay with those vendors who helped us in the past.
Actually, I think this must have been, I guess it's the numbers or actually the graph that we're talking about here, where it says it says the purchase and delivery of COVID test kits due to the rise in COVID cases. Do you think that the Director of Health and Human Services has those numbers that we can maybe see?
Yeah, we did not prepare the resolution, Councilman. We just funded it through the rescue money.
This is just,
Are these tests going towards public safety individuals, or who are they for exactly?
Well, it's a combination, yes, to answer your question.
Combination of public
both
safety and who
public
else?
safety and also availability through the health department for residents.
I know for a fact, though, that the county puts these contracts out to bid. So, like,
Well,
know why
that's very, very true. And under normal circumstances, as I said before, Council, one of the reasons why we stay with the vendors is because we know they can supply the product. If you put it out to bid, you may be facing 4, 5, 6 months before you actually take delivery, which obviously is not acceptable.
How many
In this
tests-
case, we did not do the bidding for this. This was done through the health department. We just funded it.
okay, all right. Is Stacy Flanagan here?
she has a representative here, but when we get to her, you can ask the question. She has someone here.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
go ahead, Director Shea. 10.61.
We're ready for the next one? Okay, so 1061, 22178 is a resolution ratifying an emergency contract award for a 5-day tactical incident response exercise and de-escalation program for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. This is one of our standard 5-day training programs that we do for our emergency service, and we've expanded it to our street crime and our command people. It's, for lack of a better word, active attacker training. We try to do 2 to 4 a year. The emergency service has a specific specialized emergency service only training of 10 days that we try to do twice a year. And because our street crime unit is in so many dangerous situations, we've recently tried to expand it to them also. It's almost always paid for out of our UASC grant money. Because it's a UASC grant, we invite the surrounding areas to participate also. And under Director Moody, she has recently been inviting the community. I think some of you have attended some of them. She's recently been inviting the community and turned it into a community training exercise also, while we're still getting the training we need for our police officers. The reason we use this company is that this company has been with us for over 8 years now, and each training builds on the previous training. This is not something we can bid out and take the lowest bidder on. They're familiar with our officers' strengths and weaknesses. They're familiar with what they need to improve on. So each training improves us to the next level. I don't think I have to speak on some of the horrible incidents that these units have had to deal with and that they've dealt with very professionally, and almost universally they credit this training with helping them do so. We recently had a emotionally disturbed person, the most recent one in my head, last weekend, we had an emotionally disturbed person attending to harm himself and burn down a building and use gas mains. And we've trained the fire department, medics, everybody. It was handled as close to textbook as you can, in a way that nobody was injured, including the man trying to injure himself. And that's always our goal. De-escalation, voluntary compliance, and this training and the equipment that we get with it helps get us there.
So there's no other way that one company can do one set of training and another company can do another set of training? Tomahawk have to do all of the training? Is that what you're saying, or am I understanding?
We started with them, and we're happy with them. If we switched to another company, we'd have to go backwards, because the other company would not be able to rely on previous training by another company. We'd have to start back over at the beginning, and we'd have to then use that company. We couldn't, every 3 months when we do another training for 5 days, we can't go out and use a different company. So if there's we have zero complaint with this company, but if there is a question about them, if we go to someone else, we're committing to go to that person and then use them going forward. So we have the same problem, just with a different company, or the same challenge.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just saying because you said that there's no other way that we can go to use another company. What does de-escalation training look like?
Most of it's active attacker and de-escalation, which is how do we address an active attacker actively trying to harm people, which unfortunately we've dealt with a real life scenario, but it's also happening all over. How do we deal with a barricaded suspect, someone trying to hurt people, someone attacking people actively? How do we do it in a way that while we are using the maximum protection to our citizens, we're using the minimum against the person doing it, unless we have to do whatever we have to do. So it incorporates de-escalation into police involvement with people who are actively resisting and trying to harm them. So it's hard to go into a long thing here. I mean, I know you attended a couple of them. I know someone else has, but it teaches our officers how to best deal with this while protecting themselves and not putting themselves in a position where their only option, whether it's legal or not at that moment, would be to utilize force that possibly, if they had made better decisions, they wouldn't have to be there.
Okay, and for the amount being charged, how many officers go through this de-escalation training?
Our entire emergency service unit, which is around 40 officers, and the last time we sent our entire street crime unit, which is about 70 plus, but that doesn't include the commanders all go through it, patrol officers who are working go through it, because we run these drills as if they're real-time occurrences. Sometimes political members and other agencies go through it. We invite the sheriff's department, because in a real scenario, whether we like it or not, all these people are going to attend. So we invite the sheriff's department to be there. We invite surrounding police departments to come in and do it. Our medical personnel attend the training and go. Our fire department attends the training and is trained. So it's a cast of hundreds by the time we're done. But the core training is directed at those core units of the emergency service unit and our street crime unit, who are the point of despair, to put it.
And also, do we have any training that speak to cultural differences in different communities?
Yes, Director Moody is, and under Ben Daly, her captain, they're doing that training. We're doing it in-house. It's a different de-escalation, cultural awareness, and tactical communication course. We brought in, a couple years ago, we brought in a acknowledged expert in this from over in New York. We brought him over. We trained all our police officers in that, and it was a 2-day course for each. But then we sent our Captain Daly to a train the trainer course, and he and his training unit have now been trained to give that course themselves, so we can do that in-house without paying someone now. So Ben Daly trains all our officers in tactical communication, and cultural differences is a part of that.
Okay, Director.
This is $161,000 for this training. And if I'm not mistaken, when we had a real police academy here in Jersey City, we used to do this in-house and bring in professional people and cost us nothing. And that's a lot of money for 5 days.
It's, the one thing I'll say, Councilman, yes, we have no police academy anymore. Two, this is all federal funds that's approved. This isn't one training, this is multiple trainings that are included in this. That's why it added up, because it kept getting pulled. There are no in-house experts in this anymore. I'm glad. I'm glad, because we're in a different world than we were when we used to train this kind of stuff. They're training to a very dangerous threat level that hopefully we'll never have to use.
We used to bring in people from Arizona, New Mexico, California, and we did a great job with it. And it's a shame we don't have our own police academy here in Jersey City. They closed down the best academy in the state of New Jersey. It was rated #1.
Agreed.
It's a shame.
Yeah, we need to get the academy back. You know, that's his passion. So what's the next one? Let's go.
Sorry, I just have a question.
I'm sorry, Joyce.
No, it's okay. Has Tomahawk provided any assessments or evaluations on the units that they're training with, or on our practices or responses?
Okay, yes, they have. They do that in multiple ways. From the time we hired them, we started with our emergency service unit, we expanded to street crime, fire department, everyone else. From the time we hired them, we asked them to provide those kind of training evaluations. So what happens is, at every training, every officer, for instance, emergency service, goes through their 5-day specific training. Every officer is trained and evaluated individually. They're informed of their evaluation. They sign it, that they know how they performed and what they need to work on to improve. At the following training, if they haven't shown improvement, a recommendation is made to the commanding officer of the unit that possibly that officer should be reassigned if they don't move up. Now, all of that is available to us. It's kept in the emergency service unit's company commander's office on purpose, because from the beginning with this training, we didn't want it to be something that the officers resisted, that they thought, oh, you're just trying to get me in trouble. So they know that, for instance, I don't see it, unless the ESU commander or the company comes and says, this person is unsafe, this person should not be in this unit. Unless it reaches that extreme level, it's kept at the unit level so that it can be improved upon, not used as a kind of a disciplinary tool or a threat. So the short answer is yes, the fire chief has an evaluation of his members that went through, the emergency service unit, the street crime unit. They would only notify me if they think someone is performing to a level that should be removed from their duties because they're not safe for the people around them or the state. Otherwise, they would give the commander an opportunity to tell me and move up.
I have a
Allow
question.
anyone who's being trained offer an evaluation or assessment on the training?
Yes, they do that, and we also, on every training, we get a post-evaluation on how our officers worked and things we need to improve. That goes to the police director, and then, God forbid, after a live incident, like the incident of 12/10/19, they come in and do an evaluation, and that one was done at the behest of the Attorney General, and talked about how everyone behaved and improvements we need to make in equipment and training.
Thank you.
Youssef, go ahead.
How many years have we done this particular training, and how many years have we done it with Tomahawk?
It's 8 years. The answer's on both, since 2013.
8 years for both?
This will be year 9.
Okay. I mean, I understand the utility of doing this, especially, you know, after December 10th, 2019. I just, the emergency contracts, I think there's so many of them across the various departments, you know, not just your department. And I think that we have to look out for the best interests of the taxpayer as well. And it's important for us to put these out to bid and that there's competition in the marketplace and that we know what others are doing. That's not necessarily against anything for this, but I just want to say that out loud for all the departments to hear. Thank you.
I just want to share something with what the director said earlier, which is correct. We just have to be careful with, especially with public safety, especially with tactical training and with severe incidences that happen within our city. We want to make sure that we have a team that's teaching us how to be tactical during a hostile environment, i.e. 12-10-19. You know, Tomahawk usually does an amazing job. We as a council are more than welcome to attend their shows that they have, you know, throughout the city. They are amazing, and you know, it's something that we, again, you know, we want to make sure that our officers, our firefighters, once they get in, our EMT, EMS workers are, if they ever go to a hostile environment or to a situation, that they would know how to make sure that they protect themselves as well as the constituents of the city of Jersey City. Tomahawk does a good training on that. I don't know if I personally would want to entertain another company and take a step back. You know, these guys are very, 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 very talented and trained, and you know, it's something that it's good, you know, for our city.
Well, like I said,
The only,
Director, go ahead.
the only thing I would just echo what the councilman said. I've attended active shooter training at NJCU Business School. I also did the civilian response at Hudson Mall just the other week. And it is beneficial, and I do think that there is some merit and value to that trust when it comes to the people who are training our officers, our first responders, our emergency teams, and firefighters. Every person that I've spoken to has gone through the training and said that it has been a great benefit. So that, I just want to echo what he's saying.
Next time, Director, when you have your training, just invite some of this council to go see, because
The council has an open, I think,
we got some new council too, and they have to see also. I mean, we all been through it, the ones
Agreed.
that wanted to. So invite us next time.
agreed, and they're always welcome, but we'll make sure you know the dates of the next one. Thank you.
Okay, next one.
What do we got, John? What do you want to go to next?
Next one.
Can I go, I mean, I got plenty here. I'll start with, can we do 22015? It's agenda number 3.4. For a first reading, 4.3 second. This is an ordinance authorizing the city of Jersey City as a tenant to extend for 2 years a lease within 18 Ash Street Realty for the space located at 46 State Street, Jersey City.
John, which one he's reading? I couldn't hear it.
Sorry, it's 4.3. It's a second reading. The 18 Ash?
Yeah.
Yeah, second reading, 4.3.
This is just a continuing a lease on a storage space where the fire department stores 2 of its emergency vehicles. Emergency meaning if one of our fleet vehicles goes down, this vehicle would replace it. We also store training equipment and, more importantly, all our building collapse, which is quite expansive. The lumber and stuff we'd need if a building collapses and we need to get it back up and rescue anybody inside it. It's an ongoing location. It's a 2-year lease. And the lease monthly rent will be $7,284. Comes out about $1 a square foot increase over what we were paying, which is well below, both numbers are well below the commercial value, real estate value numbers here in Jersey City.
Any questions?
Is it, will we move this to the new public safety building eventually, right? Or
No, this is storage for actually operational thing. The new public safety building won't have room for 2 trucks and figure the space that would require those 5 or 6 fire trucks. It's big. We need a lot of space to store this stuff.
Okay. Next one.
Where'd John go?
We finish?
Nope.
We got about 3 more.
Yep. So, all right, agenda number 1029. Authorizing us to purchase via co-op Velocity System Kit, ATPIAL PEQ 15 carrier pouches from Tomahawk Defense. That's the holder of this contract. This comes out of, this is also related to the post-evaluation of 1210. I think we've been trying to do this one for a while. One of the recommendations to the Attorney General was that we change the sighting systems on the weapons that our emergency service people had to use to bring them up to industry standards and to ensure that the least number of rounds are fired during any event that, God forbid, might happen. So this is tied in. It's the provision and the training of all our, provision, installation, and training of all our officers in the use of these devices.
So with this, Director, is now specifically on this, can this go out to bid?
No, it's proprietary equipment. They sell it to the military and us. You can't even buy it if you're not, you know, that's, I mean, we buy it from them or we buy it from nobody. That's, I think, you know, it's, Councilman, it's that non-export thing, you know, the,
I just wanted you to go on the record with that.
thank you.
These people must really be good.
No, yeah, they're
Cream of the crop.
they're as good as you can get. That's a,
Premium.
but consequently, Council, like I said, the results for us have been, I mean, the 2 units that were trained, and I don't want to go into like time, the 2 units that were trained are the 2 units who apprehended back in December the man who had just shot 2 people, committed 4 robberies, had a gun in his hand and was trying to run our police officers over. Post this training, they followed all this and apprehended him and his accomplice without firing a round. And that's the kind of results we're getting out of it there. And then they all talked about how they're taught. Now, there's no guarantee on that. That was a very dangerous man who was trying to harm people. But that night alone, we probably made back all the money that we've spent on this training. We're very happy with the results as far as the day-to-day activities of our officers and how it's improved their abilities.
Okay. Next, go ahead.
Okay.
30. Is that you?
ESU, once again, for my emergency service, this is a co-op, different company, thankfully. But this is from the Zistos Corporation. We got 2 quotes, and Zistos won in the total amount of $41,017. This is 10-40. And the item we're trying to purchase is called a tactical baton, but it's not a baton. What it is a camera. These are the cameras that emergency service uses, for instance, in that last barricaded suspect thing, to either see around a corner, under a door, to feed a camera under a door so they can see inside of an apartment. All this is designed so that they can make better informed decisions on whether they have to forcibly enter or whether we have time to negotiate with the people inside. So we only had 1. We're upgrading what we have to the industry standard, and it's a relatively straightforward purchase. No offensive capability at all. All it's for is surveillance.
How does it look like?
Pardon me?
How does it look like? Like it's a baton with a
No, there's
light?
several items here. They're calling it the baton thing. Yes, it's a telescoping rod.
Okay.
Telescoping rod with an around-the-corner capability, also an under capability, depending on how it's done. And it's also cable that we can feed, I don't want to give too much away, but that we can feed through smaller spaces to get a view. The classic use of this when we had the gentleman who tried to harm his family members and then barricaded himself about 6 months ago in a building, it puts our officers in a position of, has he harmed himself and is potentially bleeding to death right now, in which case I need to get in there and help him? Or is he just sitting on the bed, in which case smashing down the door might make things worse? So these cameras and the various ways are designed to give them a view into the area they're going to go into so they can make those decisions in a more informed manner. And they're very effective for us. Like in that case, they learned we need to get in there right now or he might lose his life. And unfortunately, he had done enough damage to it. But that's what they're for. They're designed to give our people more time. All of our training, from the Tomahawk to the equipment we want to purchase, has one thing in mind: make our officers as effective as possible when they have to make very tough decisions in very real time to do things. Give them every advantage so they can do so at the lowest level that they need to effectuate the end of the job. That's what the officers want. That's what we want. Every tool that they can possibly do that.
Thank you.
That's it. That's all.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, members of the council.
Matt Hogan? Okay, come on. What's that?
Oh, okay.
This is 1010 Resolution 22-127. Basically, what this is a resolution authorized for us to participate in the 1033 program monitored by the Department of Defense. We are not seeking any type of armored vehicles in any way, shape, or form. What we're looking to do is acquire, I believe they call them the large trucks. You've probably seen them on television during periods of time with flooding, the 4x4s. Unfortunately, right now, we do not have those types of vehicles. In the past, when we've had significant flooding issues, they could have come in very handy. I had researched them through the UASI grant. They're quite expensive if you build them. They're over $300,000. Through this program, we can get them for free.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Come on, Matt.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Item 10.42, it's Resolution 22-159, the Defense Council for Workers' Comp claims. Leitner, Tort, DeFazio, and Browse, it's a $50,000 contract. Each claim is capped at $3,000. Currently, that firm has approximately 135 claims in various stages of litigation. Last year, they closed about 28 claims. It's a renewal of an ongoing contract.
Any questions? Next one, Matt.
That's it.
Next one. That's it?
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan Welder?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Tonight I just have two resolutions for you. First one would be Resolution 22-149, Agenda Item 10.33. It is a contract amendment to extend the professional services contract with the architect. It's the Historic Preservation Architect for Reservoir 3. There's no cost for this extension.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the agenda item again?
Could you repeat it? Because they couldn't hear you back here, Brian.
Sorry about that. Resolution Item 22-149, Agenda Item 10.33.
3.2 is 149. So you 10.32. Look on the agenda. Yeah, he's saying, but 22-149. So which one is it?
The only one I have in front of me is 22-149.
It's
That's
32.
10.32.
32?
It's not Public Works uniforms.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not Public Works uniforms.
10.32.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's just a resolution extending the contract for the architect, the Historic Preservation Architect, to complete the work that they need to do at Reservoir 3.
What's been going on with the reservoir in terms of the, what's it called? The glide
Safety
path?
improvements?
Yeah, the site improvements and glide path
Safety
forward.
improvements are under construction. And because of the cold weather, they had to stop putting foundations in for the fence. But they will be starting that back up to complete the fence and the project.
Brian, this has been going on for how long? A year and a half now? And people are just getting annoyed. It seems like nobody's ever there working, and a lot of the stuff we met on, and seems like they didn't follow the instructions we gave them.
Well, actually, Councilman, we should probably meet at the site so I can show you everything that they're doing.
Up there, Brian, but it's just, people are getting annoyed. We want the place finished and done. And it's
Well, understood.
dragged out.
Understood.
Next one.
Okay, next one. Resolution 22-171. I have agenda item 10.52. This is an amending resolution to clarify what was approved back in July to the New Jersey Historic Trust.
I think it's 10.53 on our
Yes, it
agenda.
is.
Oh, sorry about that, 10.53.
This is the resolution amending Resolution 21.521, is that correct?
That is correct. There was a typo with it. The grant writer put in the screen house, and it's actually Gatehouse 2 that was approved by the New Jersey Historic Trust.
Any questions? Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Council. Good evening.
Nicole?
Good evening, Council. Nicole Dupree, Employee Benefits. Here to present three resolutions, agenda number 10.22 and 10.23, resolutions number 22-139 and 22-140. These are resolutions, one is a claim resolution to pay Remedy Analytics, who is our prescription auditor.
Do it one at a time, Nicole. 10.22.
Okay, 22 is the award of the contract to Remedy Analytics after the proposal process. And then 23 is
What would we, why are we auditing the drug plans?
the auditor.
Or what's the purpose behind it?
They communicate with the prescription benefit managers that we have. In this case, it's Express Scripts, to make sure that we're not being overcharged by any of the pharmacies or any of the pharmaceutical companies for the prescriptions that are filled by our members.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, Director, what was the result in the last, say, last 2 years from this audit?
I don't have the last 2 years, but I do have 2021, and they saved us about $2 million.
Okay, great.
$2 million.
And are they paid as a percentage of their savings?
I'm sorry?
How are they paid?
They are paid through the partial payment vouchers through the budget lines that we have allocated.
Do they get a percentage of the amount that they save the city, or are they paid like a flat fee?
Flat fee, based on whatever is proposed in the proposals.
Got it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next one, Nicole.
Okay, so the next one is a claim to pay for services that were rendered in 2021 for that same company.
Read it, please. 10.23.
That's the claim resolution for Remedy.
John, read it, so then the audience at least know.
Resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by Remedy Analytics for providing prescription ordinance services for the Department of Human Resources Employee Benefits.
Want to elaborate? No? Cole, you want to elaborate a little bit so people can understand it?
Sure. Well, this was done, the claim is being submitted because they were rendering services in 2021 while the proposals were being accepted, and Remedy is the only company, the only vendor that submitted a proposal, therefore leading to the resolution we just talked about.
Your last one.
Last one is Resolution 10.24, Resolution number 22-141. This is a resolution authorizing, renewing a contract for Doyle Alliance Group as our city's insurance broker. They manage our life insurance policies for both management and non-management employees. This will be the first option of two, effective May 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
Any questions, council? Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Linda Ivory Green.
Good evening, Council, President, and Council members. I'm here on behalf of my director, Stacy Flanagan, from the Department of Health and Human Services. I will be presenting Resolution 22. Let me just move this. 22-128, 10.11. It's a resolution ratifying an emergency contract award to Bespoke Health, LLC, to provide COVID tests to Jersey City residents as part of the city's ongoing response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Questions?
Why is this an emergency contract?
Still in the midst of a pandemic.
I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but we're in year 3 now of this pandemic, and the state of emergency actually it ended in August, then Murphy restarted it for the winter time, and it was supposed to only last a month. We've been over that month, and it was supposed to end unless it was reinstated, which it was not. And we're paying $2 million for the tests. We haven't received a breakdown of the costs. 3 times on this dais, myself, as well as other council colleagues, requested a breakdown of what Bespoke was using, in terms of the money, an itemized breakdown, and 3 times we were told that we would get it. We have not received it to this day.
John.
What is going on?
Councilman, I have that information. I will be remitting it to council. We were just taking a look at it to make sure there wasn't any information that needed to be redacted. So it's quite a large document, probably close to 100 pages. So we're just going through it to make sure any of that information becomes public, that anything that was warranted to be redacted, we would do so.
How come the county can send COVID contracts out and we can't? Why are they putting things out to bid and we can't?
I believe that for this testing component, because they were already within the system and they were able, this is rapid testing, this was an emergency response to the numbers when we had the Omicron variant that was kicking off and the long testing lines, and people were complaining about labs that were using at that particular time. So it is my understanding that this is an immediate response to the needs of the community, because there was massive delays in testing and lines.
How many units are we ordering for this $2 million that we're putting as an emergency?
This particular testing started January 6th and ended on February 6th, and it will not be the whole $2 million. I believe according to my numbers and to my director, it's about $1 million, so it's less than what she initially wanted to encumber.
So this is testing that already happened?
Happened, yes.
Is what you're telling me?
Yes. So it was supposed to go for 13 weeks. It did not go for 13 weeks because as the numbers started to go down, we pulled back on the testing.
How many tests did we administer during?
I am actually still waiting for that number.
Okay, because
just
$2
during
million, I'd like.
that particular 5-week period.
And $1 million, good.
Council will make sure we have that information prior to Wednesday, or we'll.
Because a lot of people received 2 different test results. In addition, the labs were evidently, swamped, which is
right, absolutely
accurate. But if the county is getting is getting contracts for a significantly less amount of money, whether it's the medical waste, and I believe there's a representative for the county here, so whenever that representative comes up, I'd like to inquire about this. But they are getting a significantly less amount, and they're putting it out to bid. So I want to know why we can't put this out to bid. Why can't we get other contracts for other people? And until we get those numbers, I think this council
We'll hold.
should put this on hold, or this should be a claim if this was already testing that was administered.
John, would you want to step in here and give us some explanation?
Yeah, so council, I just agreed that we would, if we don't have this information by Wednesday, we will pull this item. This is ratifying the contract, so the claim would be actually paying the bill. This is to authorize that we can pay the bill. So a little difference there in purchasing laws, but this is to make sure that we're in compliance with a contract.
I don't remember compliance with what contract? With
We're ratifying the contract.
oh, ratifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, James.
Yeah, can I follow up? We also have on this agenda an emergency contract for a similar service through OEM and Director Kears, which involved both rapid tests and then I guess a flu, COVID, SARS test. And, I'm wondering why there were two separate contracts and why those two weren't merged into one.
Regarding OEM's contract, or because I know there was a separate contract for vaccines.
So this
This
was
is
not
COVID testing.
No, the OEM was for testing. Yeah, it's
not
item.
Yes, they
Eight
did.
items, so we were
It's for testing, he said, yeah. And flu, he said flu vaccines too.
Item 1060, Councilman.
Yeah, 1060, and again, it's a late item, so we just looked at it, but I believe if you look at the, I don't know, receipt, wrong word, but it includes both a flu test, but also rapid tests.
Right.
COVID rapid tests, which would be the same
Fine.
overlap as this.
Well, I can't speak to the contract with OEM and why it wasn't combined. I can't.
Sure, I mean, the OEM director did say, though, that it came from HHS. It was simply purchased through him.
Okay.
John, maybe you need to meet with both of the directors and see, because it makes no sense.
Yeah, if we don't have answers by Wednesday, we'll pull both.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
There were long
At
lines.
minimum, a memo from the director explaining why there's two contracts.
Correct.
The number of units and the breakdown of the cost.
Right.
I want,
That makes sense.
Thank you, Director. Thanks.
Okay, I have one additional resolution.
Yes, go ahead.
22-129 and 10.12. Resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services to agree to the acceptable use policy of Get Covered New Jersey, which is our affordable care work that we were doing within my Division of Community Health and Wellness. So basically, we would like the Department of Health and Human Services to become a designated organization to provide education and assistance to residents for affordable care.
Say that again, Linda. Y'all want another division here?
We were lost there.
Oh, we can't believe this.
Can you just say that again, Linda?
I certainly shall. We would like the Department of Health and Human Services to be a designated organization for providing assistance to residents for affordable care. This is something that we were doing pre-pandemic,
Right.
of course had to stop, and would like to pick back up.
can you elaborate as to how exactly you'll be assisting residents and what the scope of this designation would be?
Basically, the scope is we have health educators who are trained to be certified application specialists,
Applications for what exactly?
healthcare.
Like just when the healthcare goes online,
Right, your open enrollment period and the special period thereafter.
do they
So
do
bottom-
Medicare or do they do Medicaid or any of that other?
They do New Jersey Family Care, and they do provide the affordable care. So it's just a matter of providing education on the application process and some of the requirements that are necessary, but we do not determine eligibility. So it's basically helping and educating with the application process.
So can you walk us through the process? Like, give us an example. So if someone how do you find these individuals? How do we advertise this service?
This is actually part of health education, Community Health and Wellness Division. So there are 3 staff that are trained to provide assistance, and it's put on the city website. When we go out and provide education, the health educators sort of let people know. So it's advertised as part of health education.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
No, I was just wondering is there any way we can get this information to community groups?
Oh, absolutely.
On the
Absolutely.
outside?
Remember, I have the ward-based health educators, so there's a health educator that is assigned to every particular ward. So they provide the information, they send it out to all the community partners, and of course, send it out to you. So once we become designated as an organization, then we can do so.
Now, question, you said we were doing this before the pandemic,
Pre-pandemic,
right?
yes.
Now, does that, I guess, our designation expire? Like, why do we have to?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Gail, Austin.
Good evening, Council President and council
Hi,
members.
Gail.
I'm here on behalf of Director Stacy Flanagan for item number 10.8, Resolution 22-125. This is the resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the acceptance.
Speak loud, Linda. We kind of young up here, we can't hear.
Okay. This is my first time. I'm accepting this as.
Don't worry, don't be
behalf of-
nervous.
Okay.
Just, go ahead.
We're accepting the resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the acceptance of a grant from the Hudson County Department of Health and Human Services for the Municipal Alliance to combat alcoholism and drug abuse. And I'm the new Alcohol and Drug Alliance coordinator.
This is something new they doing, Linda?
Excuse me?
Tell us about it. Tell us exactly what you're doing. This is the first time a lot of us seen you, so we want to really get to know you and what your program doing.
Yeah, can you talk about the program?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just educate us. Thank you.
Take your time.
Okay. Well, I'm the new coordinator, so I'm fairly new at it.
Okay.
A couple of months. What happens is the state gives the county a grant. It's $78,000, and the county awards it to the City of Jersey City Health and Human Services, and we have subcontractors that educate the youth to combat alcoholism and drug abuse. So they have programs. It's 7 subcontractors altogether.
Oh, okay.
Now, where do one go to receive these services? Like if they're suffering from some type of alcohol abuse or alcohol problem?
Okay, well, there's 7 different contractors, and we meet quarterly, and they put their information out there, rather by either social media, advertisement.
I guess what I'm asking, are these entities actively out there in the community? Because I know you can walk 4 blocks on MLK and you'll see a whole bunch of individuals who can utilize this service. So I'm trying to figure out what, if any, outreach is being done from these different providers or from the Department of Health and Human Services to this needy community, because, I mean, they're right there in our face. And if we're trying to address alcoholism and we're not bringing it to the people who can potentially use the service, and we're waiting for them to look for us and find for us and find us, I think we're missing a mark on trying to provide the service. So So that's why I'm just trying to picture how the outreach is being done.
Okay, well, what I'll be glad to do is I can give you a list of the subcontractors. One is Jersey City Anti-Violence Educational Arts Team. I could provide you with the list and what they propose to us, and, you know, we don't manage that. They tell us, we just award the money to them. So the best,
I have a question.
ahead.
So do you know if these contractors are actively in the community? Like the councilman said, you know, there are people that need us eminently. So do we know if these contractors are engaged in the community, or are we expecting them to get it from social media or stuff like that?
well, I'm sure they don't just advertise by social media. We are expecting them, do I, you know, follow up with them to make sure exactly and attend every meeting that they have? No, I don't do that. So I guess the answer would be I'm expecting them to abide by the proposal that they told us and their agenda that they do, what they're supposed to do, all 7 of them.
So when you meet with them next time, can you have them advise us or give us information as to where they're going to be within the community?
Sure, I could do that.
Does this have to do with anything with crime prevention? No?
No.
That's not in there, because you said you meet with a group of them. And you mentioned anti-violence, so.
Oh, anti-violence is one of the, I just mentioned that as one of the contractors, but it is for drug and alcohol
Okay,
prevention for the youth.
okay.
Right.
It's for youth.
For youth, yes.
So it's similar to, I guess, what would be like a DARE program. They're not actually going out into the street and talking to, I guess, people who have substance abuse problems. They're educating the youth, kind of like a prevention program.
Correct, yes.
Can schools make referrals?
Say that again?
Can school make for referrals? Like, I know I work in a school, and sometimes kids come in, they either high or drunk, and a lot of time they can't come back until they pass a drug test. So I'm trying to see, is there any way school can make recommendations for youth to receive these services?
Well, I don't know how each subcontractor, I don't know what their criteria is to, we award the money. I don't make the rules as to, that would have to be individually asked, which I can get that information for you as well.
This is just a grant we accepting, correct?
Correct.
But there's more questions we have about this grant. I can see it. So is this a way we could just table this until we get more answers? I don't, is it just a grant? Because I know he wants to see how we can partner. I'm just trying to figure this out, that's all.
Yeah, we could take a look at that, Council
Could we
President.
just look at it? Because.
Take a look at that. Usually there's parameters set forth with these
Right.
grants. That'll
I want to
say
make
it's for
sure
the
with this.
specific purposes, and if there's reporting, that's a necessity
Right.
of the grant. So we'll go back to Director Flanagan, get all that information, and we could decide on Wednesday.
Right.
Because this resolution is very good. We just want to make sure that it's done correctly so that we can
Right.
engage it the right way.
Ray.
Sure, I mean, it's continuous dialogue, right? But I think part of this, just to supplement the conversation, is that some of this is community outreach stuff in which there's alternative directives for these drug and alcohol. I know there was, sculpting classes and pottery and stuff like that, also as initiatives that are included in this to create a different mindset and, curb some of those addictions. So we'll take a look at that, and if it's not satisfactory.
What might be helpful if we know what's all entailed, like the
Yeah,
different
a
classes?
full encompass. I
Right.
agree. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll work with the director on that and Mrs. Alston, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks a lot, Gail.
Thank you. Thank you.
John Lynch.
To be clear, we're withdrawing this?
No, not yet. We're gonna get more
For
conversation.
clarity, and then on Wednesday, I'll speak with the council prior to the meeting.
We just want more information.
Good evening, Council. I'm covering 2 items. One that I think was missed was 1048-1078-10.33, the resolution.
Speak up, John.
I can't hear you, brother.
Speak up. We can't hear you.
I'm covering 2 items. Let's see. One was, I believe, was missed, 1048-1078, 1033, resolution authorizing the award of an open-end contract to Cintas Corporation for rental of uniforms for the Department of Public Works and for the employees out in the field.
10.33.
10:30.
Yes.
And this is the cleaning service, correct, John?
No, this is the uniforms, Cintas.
Yeah, they're cleaning the uniforms.
Yes, they do everything, yes. They supply the uniforms, they clean them, they pick them up, drop them off, size all employees.
Okay.
Questions? Any more? Frank, any more questions?
Do we know is there like a fixed amount per uniform?
The contract is for $230,000. As far as the fixed amount per uniform, I'm not aware of that.
Do we know the volume of uniforms we're sending to be serviced, like on a weekly basis?
You mean the cleaning, how much it costs to clean each one?
Well, you said you don't have that data, but I'm under the impression that you know at least 20 or 30 uniforms get cleaned every week or something like that. Do we have any number, any data on how many uniforms are being serviced?
Yeah, I'll jump in, John, to supplement this. So we'll get you the exact numbers, Councilman, but I believe each member is provided 3 uniforms, and we have about 75 to 80, so we're looking at about 250 uniforms cleaned and serviced every week. They come to the facility, pick them up, sanitize them, and bring them back to the facility for the members. But we'll get you the exact number for that.
I think there's a page 20 of 31 in the supplement that says how much each unit price is, rental unit price, and then the weekly total for each one.
It's on page.
Is this a year long? What's the duration of this contract?
It's a year.
It's a year? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you
Okay,
want,
that makes sense.
Okay, John.
Yeah, sorry for not having, I was just filling in on that one. The one I'm here for is actually 173-203, 10.7, resolution authorizing the award of the contract to Dynamic Digital Air for the purchase and delivery of the high vision touchless temperature screening identification terminals, access control for and I'm working with the Department of Health and Human Services on that. That is to replace the units that have been broken across the city, and so we had to get 10 additional units. Before we used Johnson Business Products. This time around, we're using a local minority vendor that we identified, and she's going to help replace the 10 units across the city, and this way we can also have 1 or 2 spare ones. And the money's coming out of the American Rescue Plan.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
Moben?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Obin Youssef, Division Director of Workforce Management. I'll be presenting 2 resolutions. I'll be starting with agenda number 1025, resolution number 22-142. HR is requesting the authorization of payments in the amount of $24,615 to CarePoint Health Medical Group for providing professional services of physicians to conduct medical examination for civilians, uniformed employees, and any applicants seeking employment with the City of Jersey City.
Any questions? Go ahead, next one. And then
Next is Agenda 10-26, Resolution Number 22-143. HR is seeking resolution of the governing body's certification of compliance with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrest and conviction records in employment's decision under the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
elaborate this exactly. Go into this here for the public.
It basically outlines best hiring practices for HR. So while the city reserves the right to deny employment opportunities to employees based on their criminal records, we have to be fair and consistent across the board. So statistically speaking, there are certain minorities that, have higher, criminal convictions. So we have to understand that while we're denying them the opportunity, someone of another race has also to be denied the same opportunity based on their records.
Equal opportunity.
Yes.
Any questions?
Sure, this is,
ahead.
can you just describe how HR puts this into practice? Because if we, as the governing body, are signing off, we're saying you're doing what you're doing. You just sort of walk us through how HR puts this into practice.
So anytime that a background check is flagged, we make sure that our attorneys or our HR legal counsel, we make sure that we review the background, and then we make the determination whether or not we will be proceeding with the hiring.
Is there a written, policy around how you handle each, how our HR department handles these cases?
There's not a set policy, right? But we do take a legal perspective on anything that we find, and we make sure that the process is consistent across the board. Like I said, if there is a finding that one person has committed a certain crime that we don't think would be an appropriate choice to make for them as a hire, we would be consistent in denying them an opportunity, and it would be the consistent case for someone else as well.
And who's the legal counsel HR works with?
Well, previously we had Scott Carbone, who
Right.
was our deputy director. He also was an attorney. Now we have Jim Carroll. So anything that comes of that nature, we run it by him, and he makes the determination and provides guidance on that.
Got it. Okay.
Do they have a committee that also weighs in on this decision? Or just a person?
To my knowledge, there's no committee, but obviously if there's any conflict, or if, I'm assuming if Jim is conflicted on the decision, then he'll, consult with the law department and get their guidance as well on the matter.
And so there's no policy as written as of yet, right? There's no policy.
Not to my
Have
knowledge.
y'all ever considered one?
I could get further clarity on that, but not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, I appreciate it.
How do we assess if all individuals are being treated equally, if there's no committee, there's nothing written in concrete? Do we at least have like a grid for, like, I guess, zero tolerance? Like, we're not considering this person under any circumstance because of this background?
I think it depends on case by case, right? And also depends on the nature of the job. If someone is registered as a sex offender, we would not be giving them a job at Recreation dealing with kids. So I think it ultimately comes down to a lot of different factors. It's, what the crime was, and also EEOC outlines whether or not it was an arrest versus actually a conviction. So we have to make that determination too. Just because someone was arrested does not mean that we deprive them of this opportunity. Like I said, it's a various number of factors that go into making that determination. Job responsibilities, who these employee, who this candidate will be dealing with, the nature of their crime, and when that crime was, committed as well. So we take a lot of factors into consideration.
Is it a possibility that we can, I guess, put this in like a more formal structure, so we don't get ourselves in trouble later on down the line? It's like, oh, hey, we both applied for that job. You got this, and I know I got this. How you get the job and how I didn't get the job.
Correct.
Absolutely, we could work on something.
If I can just
Policy,
add,
yeah.
sorry,
Go ahead, Jay.
but, I'm just reading the EEOC document included in the packet, and it says something like employer best practices. Develop a narrowly tailored written policy and procedure for screening applicants and employees for criminal conduct. We're sort of certifying that we are, but we don't have that written policy. So, maybe it might be worth us, sitting down with the BA and HR and sort of looking through this employer best practices. It's literally bullet pointed, and seeing what we have and what we don't, and what our plan is to get it.
Yeah, I think Mobeen did a great job kind of outlining it, but I agree. I think that we'll bring this back to council with a matrix, as the councilman recommended, disallowable, crimes and stuff, and we'll work with the best practices outlined to adopt our own policy. So we'll table this, John, Council President, and we'll bring it back with a written policy attached to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was gonna say, what about fines? Sorry, I know, I'm like,
Let's figure it
yeah,
out.
I know, I was like, I was waiting patiently. Are there fines that come up in the background check that would prohibit someone from being employed by the city? Like disorderly conduct, or, I mean, this...
Sometimes the driver abstracts, right, if they need a CDL, those types of qualifications. But we'll outline the parameters in the forthcoming document.
Okay.
We could talk offline if you know about one in particular.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Rosemary?
Good evening, council members. My name is Rosemary Nunez on behalf of Director McLaughlin in regards to 1027 Reso 22-144. We're seeking to furnish and install 8,300 square feet of flooring for the Charlie Hager Ice Rink located at Pershing Field. Many of you guys have visited our facility and seen that our flooring around the rink is in need of some TLC. It's been there for decades, falling apart, causing injury, damage to our skates. Becker Arena is a vendor, a co-op vendor as well. So this is where we went with Becker. We've also used them for other items such as our boards, our skates. So definitely someone that is highly recommended. Not many vendors for ice arenas in the area. In addition to the backlog that we're having getting this equipment, we're looking to get this upgrade done once our rink season concludes. So we're looking for it to be done spring of this year. So we would be opening our roller rink season with a new floor.
Is this for the actual rink floor?
No, this is the surrounding area. So not the ice area, but where you're walking around.
Oh, okay.
So this will include all of the corridor area, in addition to the benches where the players sit, the penalty boxes, all that area is included.
Have we looked into the roofing as well? They do need it, yes, they need this, but the roof on the Pershing Field ice rink, a portion of it looks like it could cause some damage real soon if it doesn't get addressed. If there's any way you could have that sent to the director, or I see Barca, the assistant BA.
Yusuf, that was supposed to be taken care of about a year ago. They never did it?
Councilman, we recently made emergency repairs to the Pershing Field pool roof, which was in disrepair, and I think you're talking about the ice rink, which will send our architects out to do a structural assessment and report back to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Guzman? It's fancy writing. Elsia from City Planning. Oh, it's a guy.
Council, I'll join. This is Elias Guzman.
Okay.
He's our transportation planner from the City Planning Division. And do you have the, sorry.
Okay. He's new. This is the first time I've seen him, right? Is he new? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, first time at a meeting.
What's your name?
Elias Guzman with City Planning.
Okay.
So we're here for Resolution 22-161, authorizing an extension of and an amendment to an agreement with River North Transit LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of Via Mobility LLC, regarding on-demand bus services.
So, Council, this is a renewal of the contract that we have with VIA. As you know, we launched VIA in February of 2020 as a 2-year pilot, and the contract allowed for 3 one-year extensions if the council chooses to renew. So this is the resolution authorizing that 1-year renewal, and we have the VIA team here to walk you through a quick presentation to give you a sense of how the service has been performing for the past 2 years, the metrics that we've been using to track success, and what the upcoming year would look like in terms of the service. So you all have hard copies of the presentation, and they'll quickly go through that now.
What item number is that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
1044.
Item 10.44, resolution number 22-161. Okay.
Good evening, Council. How you doing? My name is Mike Vaccarino. I'm the head of partnerships for VIA, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Ari, our Vice President of Operations, Brian, our Partner Success Manager, and Ria, our General Manager. I'm very thankful for you guys hosting us tonight. We put together this presentation. It's about 10 or 15 minutes long, and the goal is to dive into the service and how it's been performing, as well as leave time for questions or answers. And
Could you give us a summary?
the service is going great, and Jersey City residents love it. There are some challenges, and we're here to talk about how we can improve some of the rider experience challenges.
Okay. In your wards, what are y'all getting? Go ahead.
Yes, I have a lot of questions with regards to VIA.
All right, go ahead.
I'm not going to ask all of them now, but I do specifically want to focus on the time it takes for VIA to get there, the requested locations you ask the riders to meet you at, and also the fleet of unused vehicles that's on Cave and Point. Where are we at with that? And also, I hear that you were looking to hire, so I'm just wondering where specifically were you looking to hire as it relates to being a driver? That's a couple of questions.
Councilman, I'll start with answers to all of them and then ask VIA to give any additional details. Regarding the wait times, we agree with you. It's been an issue. When we first launched the service, we had set a target of 15 minutes or less of a wait time anywhere in the city. We've been hovering around a little more than 20 minutes, and VIA attributes that to a couple of different factors. The main one being that we launched the service on the same day that we announced the state of emergency for the pandemic. So the way we had designed the service, the vehicles would have a capacity of up to 5 to 6 passengers at a time, but because of COVID, we've limited capacity to 3 passengers at a time, and so that has reduced capacity in the entire fleet, which has been adding to wait times. There are a few things that VIA's team can do related to seat availability and wait times, which is reflected in the new metrics that we're going to hold them to. And that includes things like optimizing their routing to make sure that it's the most efficient ride and people aren't waiting for that period of time. But it's something that we're going to keep an eye on. Related to the vehicles that you might see at the commercial street lot, when the service is the busiest, meaning when it's peak hours and the majority of people are wanting rides, all of the vehicles are circling the city providing rides, but a lot of times in the middle of the day, when there isn't as much demand, we have been careful not to have the vehicles circling and only having them at key locations where a lot of the demand is coming from, and having the rest of the fleet sort of on standby as needed. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're seeing or if it's during the really busy times, but if it is, we can look at it.
So is it your testimony that there are no vehicles parked on Cave and Point during peak hours?
No, absolutely not. And if that is, it's quite possible that there are vehicles that are parked at the lot during the peak hours. It shouldn't be, close to half of the fleet or a majority of the fleet by any means. If there are a couple of vehicles, that's acceptable. But if you're noticing any more than that, then that's something that we would look into.
Okay.
Yeah, that should not be happening during the peak hours because there's, as we all know, demand is increasing exponentially, so there shouldn't be a reason why vehicles aren't, circulating.
Unless the vehicle is out of service for some reason or we're getting a fix to it. Yeah.
But even if that's the case, it should be a couple of vehicles, any more than that, and that's something that we would look into.
And are you do need drivers, correct?
We are constantly recruiting drivers for the program. Yes.
Okay. So would you be willing to come to these different job fairs that's hold by local communities, local colleges, to entertain this thought? Because, I mean, it's a good opportunity for individuals to get employment.
We would love that, and if you could facilitate that,
Yes.
we'd be more than happy to be involved.
Okay.
What's the maintenance like for the vehicles, the fleet of vehicles? Because I've heard complaints regarding the vehicle maintenance, that it's not done as often as it should. What's the maintenance? Is there a maintenance schedule, or do they run them into the ground until, like, it needs to be addressed?
So I have a few of my operational colleagues here. We can jump into as specific as you want or as high level. At the high level, we had a vehicle fleet provider that we personally weren't so happy with in terms of turnaround time on maintenance. As of December, we've switched the vehicle maintenance provider, and we expect to have better performance. No, we don't run these vehicles into the ground. There's preventative maintenance and a very clear schedule. We run about 36 of these services around the world, and we have a pretty sophisticated model when it comes to predicting when maintenance is needed or getting maintenance done.
Before you go,
Sorry, can't hear you.
Couldn't hear you.
Sorry, I was just asking Mike to talk also about cleaning the vehicles inside, sanitizing, et cetera, and their protocol during the pandemic. I thought.
Yeah, what's the protocol for that?
So in addition to the 50% seat capacity reduction to limit the amount of people in the vehicle at any given time, we've provided PPE for the drivers as well as cleaning and sanitizing materials in order to clean the vehicles very regularly.
And one last question.
Yeah.
What was the contractor that you used for vehicle maintenance prior, and who are you using right now?
Bring out my VP of Operations.
Previously, we were working exclusively with Avis Budget Group to provide the vehicles, and we brought in.
Sorry, can you?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Previously, we were working exclusively with Avis Budget Group, who we work with in many other cities around the country. We've also brought in another provider that's locally based out of New York called Voyager Global Mobility, or Buggy. They're one of the top 4 leasing companies based out of the New York tri-state area.
So Voyager's the new contractor or subcontractor that you're using, correct?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question. Do you have any special discounts for seniors in the city?
There are discounts available for seniors around the city. They have to reach out to get them. Is that right?
Make that known, because I just got a text message from somebody asking me that question. And secondly, I'll be honest with you. I asked this question over a year ago. I'm tired of seeing the VIA cars running in this city without state plates. Get New Jersey plates on these vehicles.
Understood, Councilmember.
Go ahead.
One of the things we had talked about in the initial meetings before the program launched was different subsidies and grant funding. I do see that there is a page for this, so I think it might be helpful after this caucus meeting to set up meetings to talk about how we can better subsidize that for our residents to increase service. 'Cause I know it's very popular on my side of the city, and I'm glad that we were able to offer Saturday service. But we also want to make sure that it's not going to become cost prohibitive.
The last slide in your presentation outlines some of the grant opportunities that we'll pursue alongside the city.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I'd like to go
addition, we'd love to chat.
more in-depth into that conversation.
Love to chat.
Councilwoman, I would just add, related to that, obviously there's going to be a lot of federal funding sort of coming our way in the months and years. We haven't had great luck with the grant programs that we have applied to so far through the NJTPA, through the state, and through other federal programs. And we think the reason for that is a bias towards funding more traditional transit services, like a very traditional shuttle program or fixed route transit. And so we're looking at that as well. In the previous month, in the last few months, we also asked VIA to do a study of how many of the rides that VIA is currently serving can be better served by a fixed route bus line, for example, New Jersey Transit, or other form of fixed route transit like a light rail or BRT. And the data shows that up to 25% of the demand that VIA is currently meeting can be better served by traditional transit. And so our next step there is obviously to take that information to New Jersey Transit and advocate to reintroduce bus lines or to establish new bus lines in the city, in addition to the grant funding, because we think that could free up some of the, obviously, seat availability and just other types of rides that residents are wanting to take.
That's great. If we can find ways to get New Jersey Transit to move, I think that that would help everybody, including creating a better regional system altogether. Happy to sit in on those meetings and share my point of view.
Yeah.
Because also, too, one of the biggest issues I know we have is bus bunching, and this is not your issue, but again, to have a more holistic conversation with New Jersey Transit would be really helpful.
Yeah, and the concern really there was, I think, something that you and Councilman Solomon have brought up in the past, which is is VIA cannibalizing existing transit, which is not what we want to see at all. We want to see this service filling the gaps and not replacing the things that are being done really efficiently, like the light rail and the path and the buses. And so this information is really helpful because we can show New Jersey Transit that they basically have built-in demand, and they wouldn't be taking a risk by introducing a bus line. And so we'll gladly include you in those conversations.
I have a question. Are any of your vehicles handicap accessible?
Yes, they are.
All of the vehicles, I'll just add, have the capability to be wheelchair accessible or handicap accessible, and all of the drivers are trained to be able to operate the vehicle for someone who does need to get on board with a wheelchair. And there's just a simple option that you can select if you're using the app to book a ride or calling in to request that. And we have data on what percentage of the rides are wheelchair accessible rides that have been completed, which may be in the packet or we can share separately.
I think if I might add, just as part of the things that we'll be doing moving out of the pilot period into the full period is doing some travel training for riders who have historically struggled to use the service. So getting out into senior centers, getting out into the community, printing pamphlets, helping educate people on the various ways to interact with the system, because it can be a little bit confusing for a first-time rider. But once we see someone use the service, they tend to come back.
I did want to ask specifically about that. Do you have any materials in languages other than English?
We can easily. The website is in English, and then the app can be translated, I think, into up to 23 different languages, depending on the device settings.
Yeah, I think that would be really important for us to see, and we have a list of the most spoken languages. And then when we had set this up originally, I understand there was a phone number that could be called to set up a ride. Do you have numbers on how utilized that was?
That option still exists, and we could pull the number on the percentage split and share that with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if it shows, low uptick, would love to think about a coordinated outreach to senior centers and maybe seniors broader than that, so we can make sure that they know that the option exists.
Yeah.
And then last thing is the study that Business Manager Patel mentioned. Is that something that the council can review and see?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you want, we can send it over to you tomorrow, so you have that before the council meeting. It's in its final draft version. Yeah, we can share that.
Great, thanks.
One more question. One of the complaints that I receive from residents in Ward A is they feel like their trips get canceled a lot, and they think it's because they're basically at the end of the city. Is there any, any research being done to possibly expand the fleet or maybe have different locations set up throughout the city?
So that shouldn't be happening, and if it is a common complaint, let's definitely talk about that, and we can dive into the data. Expanding the fleet is certainly on the table. We can do that pretty quickly, but it comes down to budget.
All right.
Councilwoman, that specific concern is something that we passed along to VIA in the past couple of months that you've brought it up. And they've mentioned that they can make some changes to how the zones are structured to make more vehicles be circulating in the outer zone and make more vehicles just available instead of doing a full expansion of the fleet. So that's something that we'll look at. And I also want to add, in addition to the concerns the council has brought up, the city team that manages, the day-to-day with VIA has also been looking at how they've been performing, and we've also noticed certain things where the quality of service is maybe not exactly at the points where we want it to be. And based on that, we've added in an amendment to the metrics for this renewal, which takes them a step above what they were when we first launched the pilot. So those include, for example, when we first launched, the goal for weekly ridership was 1,000 completed rides per week. We've obviously far exceeded that and are seeing averages of like 12,000, 13,000. So in this contract, we've set a baseline of about 10,000 rides per week as the new metric, because obviously the system has been successful and we want to increase the minimum standard so that it stays that way. And then some of the other metrics are related to the reliability of the system. So not only the wait time, but that the rides are reliable and don't get canceled as often, because even though affordability-wise it's better than a Lyft or an Uber, if you've already been waiting for 20 minutes for a ride and then it gets canceled, it's a really frustrating experience to have to wait for another ride that may take another 20 minutes. And so that's something that the team, specifically Elias and Lindsay on the transportation team, have been tracking, and they're working with the VIA team for a reliability metric so that that doesn't happen as often, or if it does, the notification to the rider is more frequent and consistent so that it's not as much of an inconvenience, because we know the people who are using VIA are the ones who are really, really dependent on transit and don't have great alternatives. So that's the language that you'll see reflected in the contract.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ed, come on.
Council.
Council President, members of the council, good evening. I'm here for the resolutions item 10.4, resolution to cancel 7-month added assessment on a particular condominium unit. The error on this, the assessment stems from the 5-year abatement granted to the unit from May 2015 all the way to May of 2020. What happened here was that the owner filed an appeal in 2020 before the County Tax Board. Now, under the 5-year abatement ordinance, if you file an appeal, it automatically cancels your abatement. So for 2020, the abatement was canceled, in spite of the fact that the term would be expiring May. So what happened, May, when we went back to the added assessment cycle or period, we picked up the 7-month additional added assessments on the abatement, which was previously canceled already on the basis that when they filed an appeal, it automatically cancels it out. So I'm seeking for the cancellation of that taxes corresponding to 7-month added assessment on the abated amount that was put back on the tax roll.
Any questions?
Just a very quick favor. Director, would you be able to put the address in the title on the resolution as opposed to the block and lot number?
Yeah.
Okay, we will.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Ed.
thank you very much.
Carrie? Wait a minute.
Oh, she's there. County.
Resolution 10.9. This is you, Paul, 10.9?
Yes, Council President, good evening. I'm here on behalf of Director Stacy Flanagan to introduce to you Carrie Naraki, who is the health officer with the Hudson Regional Health Mission. This is an annual assessment, and the director informs me that when it came up last year, council members asked for the Hudson Regional to come and be available for questions and a short presentation on this matter.
This is not the presentation that's coming at the end, is it? Because I know I have a group here for a presentation at the end. I want to make sure this is not the one.
No, my direction were that this is responsive to the council's request last year. This is an annual assessment to Jersey City, but also to each municipality in the county for health services which the county provides and which relieves us from the responsibility of those.
So you here for 10.9, then you need to speak for it.
10.9, but I thought you called Carrie, who is here to speak on that as well.
Okay, because it's departments. It's not, you know, departments have to really pretty much speak on it. I'll take presentations at the end. I'm just trying to get this clear here.
Well,
Okay.
Council President, the director asked Carrie to be here at the request of when this matter came up last year, that the council members wished for the health officer to be present. So if you have questions, she is available to answer them. That's your pleasure.
Can you run through this program?
10.9. Go ahead.
Carrie or Paul or both? Yeah. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, I'm the director at Hudson Regional Health Commission, and I brought Angela DeQuina, she's our.
We kind of need you to get on the
Just
mic.
need-
Deaf.
Yeah. We don't need all of that. Go ahead. We just need the person who presented the resolution, and then you can explain it. That's it.
Maybe just a quick synopsis to the council.
That's it.
if there's any
Got it,
questions.
sure. We provide 4 programs in public health to the county and to the municipalities. In the environmental programs, lead programs, emergency preparedness and planning programs, which generally has been covering COVID for the past couple of years, and also mosquito control. So I did prepare a short, a paper for you. It's 6 pages long. So if you want to look at it, it goes over our history, all of our programs, and specific activities for Jersey City in 2021. So it covers basically everything we've done in the last year for Jersey City and what we cover overall.
Just give us some of the things you covered for Jersey City in the last year.
So
Top of
in
your
terms of, sure, in terms of emergency preparedness, we have done the vaccine for the whole county. In Jersey City specifically, we had 24 pop-up sites for vaccine. We also provided a testing site for all Hudson County residents, which included Jersey City residents. Our environmental program is extensive, so that's actually why I brought Angela to go over stats if you're interested.
How many vaccines did you administer, and what was the cost of the medical waste?
Okay, so in total, we provided about 75,000 vaccines. Our medical, it's funny you ask, I heard you mentioned that before, so I looked it up. Our medical waste cost us $1,800 for the year.
Okay, so that was 75,000 people got vaccinated, and it was 1,800? So even if we scaled that to Jersey City size, which is 300,000, it wouldn't get past $8,000. So just want on the record, the council to know if we're getting ripped off for $30,000 for medical waste, imagine what 2 million we're gonna be ripped off for, so. But that's not with you. I just wanted to compare the county numbers with Jersey City numbers. Thank you.
He's passionate about this, I can tell.
For 2 years.
I get it.
Question, Director, this falls into the scope of the work you do. In the last 2 years, we've had a number of, I would call them sort of air quality questions. So we had a demolition that wasn't well advertised that led to a series of questions. There have been a number of fires at surrounding areas. In those instances, is your agency responsible for monitoring the air quality in Jersey City and Hudson County? If so, how do you do it? And then how can we know, what your results are and communicate that to the public?
Sure. I'm gonna let Angela answer this.
I'm not familiar with the demolition project that you're talking about, but I know recently there have been a couple fires that were not in the county but may have impacted the county. And so we, have emergency responders on call 24/7, and complaints or incidents can come to us in a variety of ways. Sometimes, people can call our office directly if they have a complaint, and we'll send out an inspector during normal business hours. If there's an emergency situation, it might come through the fire service and make its way to us that way. It might come, somebody reports it into the state, to the Department of Environmental Protection, and then we're called out through their Bureau of Emergency Response. So things can come to us through all different avenues, but we are always available 24/7. And we do have a team of people who can go out and do air monitoring. That's what happened in the recent fire in Newark. We sent people out to the shoreline to see if anything was coming over, and they will do It's more like a screening. It's not a fixed monitor. We're not collecting samples, but we're just doing screening for certain parameters that would give us a heads up that something more might be involved. The chlorine fire from Passaic that had happened, we do have fixed monitors in the county for chlorine that are in and around our chlorine facilities, and we can log into that remotely, so that's what we had done during that event. And then the DEP through that, because that was a rather severe incident that could have impacted people more locally, they had contacted EPA, and they, just like they had done when we had the incident at CUNY at Alden Leeds back in 2019, EPA assisted with their monitoring for that, and they did a similar thing. So that's basically the scope of what we would do and our availability.
Got it. That's helpful. So if there's an incident, what's the best way for the council to be in touch with you? Do we go through our OEM directly with you? What's the sort of best approach?
The fastest thing, I know people always want to take alternate avenues. The fastest thing is just to call our office, because that's going to get
And
right
that's at
to an
24/7?
inspector, right? That's during daytime hours.
What's the office number?
Office number. Rather than emailing somebody, because I know, people get their different contacts and, have their, but then you're just relying on somebody to read their email, and then you will get a response, but it's probably not going to be as quick as just calling our office directly. If you have an issue after hours and you call the state's number, warn DEP, and ask for a response, then they, through their emergency network, will reach out to us. And we've had that happen as well.
Okay. Could I just make a comment? So with respect to the chlorine fires, both of them, I actually reached out to the county, and they said that they were not engaged with that.
I don't know who you reached out to in the county. Like I said, what we had done on that day was we have fixed monitors that are in and around our CUNY facility, and a question had come up, I think, from the OEM coordinator, who had reached out to Carrie and said, what do we know about this? We were able to, our hazmat personnel were able to log into our system and showed that our sensors were reading normal. But we didn't have an actual response because we weren't immediately notified about that one, since it was not in Hudson County. And that, just incidentally, that communication and coordination is an issue we have brought up with the state and asked to put on their agenda through their Bureau of Emergency Response, because we should have that more readily notified about that issue.
What number did you say? Is it the number at the top of this paper that we would call? For
our office, for normal business hours, which are 9 to 4, but after hours, it's 877-WARN-DEP.
Also, just for the record, does the county put out to bid the contracts for COVID or, the requests for proposals? I just want to confirm whether or not that's happening.
Well, we aren't.
What standard
we aren't
procedure
exactly
is,
the county,
sorry.
but any of the items we purchase or any of the, I don't know.
You have to come closer. We can't hear you.
Like I'm loud or I'm close, okay. So any of the items we purchase or services, we either go out to bid or get the lowest bid for the services that we are obtaining.
So that's standard practice, correct?
Yeah. Again, I can't speak on behalf of the county, but from Hudson Regional Health Commission, anything related to COVID, we follow all the rules. In the very beginning, when it was like a fire emergency, maybe in the first couple of months, we did it under an emergency, but now we go out for quotes and for bids.
I just wanted to go back one thing. So if there is, you mentioned that you hadn't heard about that demolition incident. So if something like that happens, where there's a building that is demolished or falls down, and we start to receive questions about air quality, is that something you guys can go and you can study the particulate matter and determine if the air is safe?
That's not something that we really have the capability to do, but if it's like a planned event like that, that should be done in accordance with a plan, and
Yeah.
there should be a plan for air monitoring or
Right.
perimeter air monitoring in that event. We would respond to something like that more on a complaint basis. Hey, I live here and they just demolished a plant, and I'm getting dust, I'm getting whatever I'm getting on my property. We could respond to that, and that's just like a visible standard, and then we
When
could cite
you
a
say visible
violation.
standard, what do you mean by that?
That you can actually observe dust crossing the property
So in essence,
line.
when you're doing the screening, you're just literally like, is there a particulate matter that you can see in the air?
Correct.
So then there's a problem, but that wouldn't cover like, smaller 2.5 PM particulate matter and things like that.
No, something like that would be covered under a perimeter air monitoring plan.
Yeah, and who does that?
Well, that's something that, so our agency doesn't do site remediation. That's
Right.
something that the state retains jurisdiction for, and they don't even really do it anymore. They have the system now of the licensed site remediation professionals, the
Right.
LSRPs. So an LSRP would be required to develop a plan.
Got it. Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, any more questions? Thank you.
Hold on, I just didn't catch your names.
I'm Angela DeQuina,
Can you spell that?
DE, capital Quina.
Carrie Naraki, the last name is Nawrocki.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle?
Good afternoon, Council. I have 3 items tonight. I'll start with Resolution 10.1, a resolution authorizing an emergency temporary appropriation. This is routine business up until we adopt the budget, just allocating additional funding beyond the original temporary budget amount. So if there's any questions on any particular division. Nope, cool. And the second one is Resolution 10.2, resolution authorizing calendar year 2021 appropriation reserve transfers. So this is permissible in the first 3 months of the following budget year. So this is for 2021 expenses that the original budget allocation last year couldn't cover, and we're just transferring reserves from remaining balances from unneeded appropriations.
Next one, Kyle.
No questions, okay. And then the third item is kind of a joint item, 3.5. I don't have the title in front of me, but it is amendments to Chapter 160 to our fees and charges. I worked with the administration and other city departments, so I'll let Barker take her.
It's item number 3.6, ordinance 22-023.
So there's amendments to,
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. Sorry. Item 3.5, ordinance number 22-022, related to fees and fee schedules for several departments.
Is Director Mary Peretti here? Or
I'll be answering questions for the parking fee component, and Kyle will handle the fees for the other departments.
so the first set there is amendments to the city clerk fees for birth certificates, death certificates, and marriage licenses. It's, I believe it's just a small incremental increase at the advisement of the city clerk. And the other portion is for public works, amendments to equipment rentals and things of that nature, which was advised to us by Director Kears.
Yeah, so Council, we do take a look at our revenue schedule year over year, and every so often we do have to take a look at the cost incurred to administer those fees, and then we update and supplement that. So we didn't want to do it as a complete package citywide, so what we're doing is kind of department by department, analyzing it, taking a look at the costs. So you'll see the DPW ones here, as well as the city clerk. Some of these haven't been adjusted in upwards of 10 to 15 years, and obviously with the union contractual obligations, those employees, materials, ink costs, everything is gradually going up, and the cost of the service was actually in the negative to the city. So as you know, with the revenues, we can't necessarily make a profit on them. It's just we could match what the costs of the service being provided is, and that's just to clarify this here. So this is part one. We'll see a few more, working with Councilwoman DeGeese on the administration fees on some of the other stuff with the vacant properties, and so this is part one of many that we'll see.
Which one is for DPW and which one's for parking authority, or it's?
They're lumped together in the same ordinance, just because they fall under the same chapter of the.
So we weren't really enforcing the zones for the permitting, and I brought that up, and I actually have the metrics on that now, and if we're going to be increasing the permit fees, we need to make sure we're enforcing. That's one. Two, I've brought this up multiple times. Lot 4, right next to the parking authority. I'd like to ask Corporation Counsel, can a department head or someone within city government or administration change a lot from a metered lot to a non-metered lot without council approval?
I will look into that. I will get back to you. I was not prepared to answer this question at this time. I can look into that question and get back to you.
Because every time we've changed a metered lot to a non-metered lot or vice versa, it's always come before the council. And Lot 4, the lot right next to the parking authority building, was changed to a private parking for the people within the parking enforcement division. And there was someone, a homeless man killed another homeless man in there because there's no foot traffic, there is no drive-through traffic, and it precipitated the proper conditions necessary for someone to set up a camp there. And I've brought it up over and over again. It's been like that for 2 years, and I've lived in the Heights my whole life. That needs to be changed back to a metered lot because the postal trucks continue to park on the street, and that reduces the parking for the surrounding neighborhood. Congress Street, Hancock Avenue, those surrounding neighborhoods have been crying out for help to make those postal trucks go to the Burger King lot. If this isn't fixed, I am not going to be voting for this. I just want to make that explicitly clear, and I hope that the rest of the council will respect me in that, because they literally took a public asset and turned it into a private asset for the people within parking enforcement, and it's not right.
Can we please just get an answer? He's been asking this question for the longest.
The councilman did provide this request in writing today through an email, and there are several components. There's an ordinance, as he mentioned. There is a lease agreement with the United States Postal Service there. So
is a lease agreement.
So I did sign somebody from my office to take a look at this. There are a few factors aside from the operations of the said parking authority, but I did accept his request, and we are definitely looking into it.
She said she was going to make it better, and by she,
don't
Mary
say no
Peretti.
names.
Yeah.
Let's just move on.
No, but the thing is, this is in writing. You could Oprah it, that it was that she was working on a solution. This was 2 years ago, okay? And I brought it up then, and instead of making it better, she added more spots for the people within Parking Enforcement Division. And it boggles my mind. It's a disrespect to this council, and I hope Peter Baker, Corporation Counsel, you could find out whether or not someone could just willy-nilly change a lot without council approval.
Can we just follow up with us?
Yeah,
okay?
so for formality purposes, the councilman and any council member that has such an inquiry could contact the business administrator, and then we hand that over and assign individuals to take a look at that. We also have another inquiry from the councilman for other various questionable operations, but I would just like to reiterate that we just maybe maintain a level of professionalism and not necessarily talk about individual employees with this matter. Like, Councilman, we do acknowledge what you're saying here, and I am going to take a look into it to make sure that we are in compliance. But whatever email exchanges that were of the past, I just ask, as I'm the administrator, that all inquiries come through myself, and then we'll proceed in that manner.
Okay.
I've brought it to Director Shea, I've brought it up to the mayor, and this ordinance comes before the council for consideration, and I just feel as though when you privatize a public asset like that, when people were parking there and it causes damage to the neighborhood, people need to answer for that. And there's a lot of questionable practices within the parking authority that need to be addressed. So I don't feel comfortable voting for this, and I ask my council colleagues to stand with me because this is an affront to the council.
Like I said, we'll set up a meeting concern. We'll set up a meeting concerning this, John, because this is something that's been ongoing, and we just need to resolve it by now. We need to just resolve it. So we'll set up a meeting.
The administration's willing to work with the council on this.
Right.
We just want to make sure we don't get into
We
specifics.
don't want to get into nothing. We just want to sit down and resolve it. That's it. Go ahead, James. You got a question?
Sure. I just wanted to make two substantive points on this whenever it does come before the council. The first is I do see the increase in the non-resident, or 3 points actually. I do see the increase in the non-resident parking permit from 300 to 500. I'm wondering if that can be higher given the premium on parking, in the city, and obviously the resident zones only cover certain areas. That if someone who doesn't live in Jersey City is using their car to commute here, we want to obviously as much as possible encourage people to take public transit.
Absolutely. If you have a specific number in mind, happy to.
We can discuss
explain
back
that
and
if-
forth.
Yeah.
So the second point was, are we able to index all of these fees to inflation,
Right.
given that inflation is rising, so that, we don't have to do this again in a year?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We'll figure out what the right language for that is.
Yeah, Councilman, we took a look at this, and we've been trying to work with the Department of Local Government Services at the state on this, because ultimately they sign off on all this. And they just want to make sure that every year, obviously the cost of living and inflation increase, that the service being provided is also increasing, that we don't necessarily reduce labor costs and still increase revenues. So they're willing to working on this with that, and we'll be able to index that as requested.
Okay, great. And then the last is, we put in the non-resident city government employee rate at 200. If we're going to do a non-resident rate, shouldn't it, can we expand that to non-resident employees of both the city government and the public schools, so that teachers could get that rate just as much as city employees?
Yeah, that is actually the rate for teachers as well. I just don't know
great.
why that's not reflected
In the
this
ordinance here.
language,
Okay, great.
but I know for a fact that it is. So we'll just make that amendment
Great, thanks.
when this does come to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Matt Ward. This is the late item, the trouble item.
Yes, but I want to talk about a resolution first. I'm here for two new items, a resolution and a item. Resolution 22-145, agenda item 10.28. This one is entitled Resolution of the City Council of the City of Jersey City directing Planning Board to prepare an amendment or revision to the Morris Canal redevelopment plan. Division of City Planning received two amendment requests in the Morris Canal redevelopment area. They are enclosed in this resolution. And according to the local redevelopment housing law, the City Council can direct the Planning Board to study these amendment requests or to study an amendment or revision to the redevelopment plan and then come back to City Council in the form of an ordinance. So this resolution here tonight is asking for the council to direct the Planning Board to proceed with studying these amendment requests, going before Planning Board, and then circling back here in the form of an ordinance for your consideration.
What are the amendments for the record, Matt?
Excuse me?
What are the amendments?
So they're enclosed. One amendment is from the Castano Quigley Chermini law firm, and it is actually the proposed language is enclosed in their letter. It's for the mixed-use E zone of the redevelopment plan. I can go into some background further if you wish, but it's specifically for that zone, that district, the mixed-use E zone. And then there's another zone in the plan, and this is from a different property owner or prospective property owner, I'm not sure, located at 176 Halliday. They're in the Rail Transportation Corridor District. So they own a through lot that extends from Halliday to Pacific Avenue. In the purpose for that zone, it says that you can do residential above shops, but in the list of permitted uses, residential is actually not permitted. So they're asking to make a change to turn the back half of their lot that faces Halliday into 1 and 2 family homes, and it's the corresponding zone in that plan, and then turn the front half into the mixed-use A zone, which is an existing zone in that redevelopment plan. So part of what you would authorize here tonight would be for the planning board to study whether or not the IZO is triggered in either of these amendment requests.
Doesn't the IZO affect any new project?
That's incorrect.
When it's coming for variance?
No, not necessarily, no. I can go over, we can schedule a time to, I think we actually have a meeting this Friday. We can go over the nuances of the IZO if you wish. I'd be happy to do that or add that to our agenda for Friday's meeting.
Okay. You had another one, Matt?
Yes. So this one is a late item. It is 3.7 on the agenda. Ordinance 22-024. This is ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting amendments to the Harsmas Cove Station redevelopment plan to alter the regulating plan maps and street sections as well as the intensity summary tables of the West Neighborhood District. The West Neighborhood District can be also identified as Metro Plaza or the BJ's ShopRite complex with the 2 mixed-use towers. The impetus for this amendment request was initiated by ShopRite desiring to have a larger footprint in this redevelopment area. They are going to be, I think it's been a long or well-known plan that they'll be relocating to the Bed Bath & Beyond site, which is identified as Block 3 in the redevelopment plan, or I think as the developer refers to it, Phase 2 of that master planned area. The West Neighborhood District of the Harsmas Cove Station redevelopment plan is what we would call a form-based zoning. It's highly prescriptive. It's very map-based, and the setbacks that are permitted are set. They also prescribe heights, and they're looking to change the footprint for that Block 3, which has led to numerous other changes that have been that are encapsulated in this amendment. There's been a great deal of public outreach on behalf of the petitioner. His team's here tonight if you have more specific questions. They've met with the Embankment Coalition, and a lot of their comments have been incorporated. They met with Harsmas Cove, Harsmas Neighborhood Association, and PADNA, the Powerhouse Arts District Neighborhood Association, and a lot of those comments have been incorporated, and these amendments are largely supported by those groups. I can go further into this, but the list of enclosures or attachments include the transmittal letter making the petition for the amendment, There's a memo that speaks to its consistency with the master plan. The amendment text that's proposed is highlighted or shown as a strike-through. There's proposed maps that also show the current existing maps, a traffic assessment, and there's also a certification by their planner that certifies that this doesn't trigger the IZO, and I would second that it doesn't.
Doesn't?
Yes, the plan is highly prescriptive, and it has, it lists out the floor area that they're allowed by use. It says how many maximum units they can have, and those numbers are not increasing as part of this amendment.
So this is where the ShopRite is going.
That's correct.
And the IZO doesn't trigger at all in this plan.
The changes that they're proposing don't increase the residential density for the West Neighborhood District.
Matt,
So why are they back? I'm just curious. 'cause I thought
They're
this
back
was
to
done.
enlarge the footprint of Block 3 mostly, but there are other changes included as well. They are here if you want a more formal presentation on the amendment.
Matt, I have a question. Matt?
Yeah.
In Villa Borinquen from 2nd Street to 6th Street, have they engaged in a conversation with the Villa Borinquen board?
I am not sure. We can ask them up if you wish to have that question answered.
Have they engaged in what board?
The Villa
Villa
Borinquen
Borinquen.
board. It's been a board there since 1970.
Correct.
It's probably the biggest oasis in downtown.
Good evening, council members. Robert Vertibello for the law firm of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. To answer the question that Councilman Rivera put forth, no, there have not, for this phase, been any meetings with Villa Boricua.
The biggest organization in downtown since 1968. I think that they're owed that respect. I mean, they're talking to everybody around that area except an area that is from 2nd Street to 6th Street, from Marin to Grove. I think that somebody should knock on the door and let them know respectfully, we're talking to everybody around you except you.
We can certainly talk to Villa Boricua. I know they were consulted at the beginning of the redevelopment process. They weren't consulted on this particular phase, as it didn't seem to directly impact on Villa Boricua, because as Matt Ward put forth on the record, the changes are more substantive with regards to the ShopRite, not in regards to height or density or anything of those nature. So the form effectively is the same, although we are going down to a one tower concept as opposed to two. But it just...
But they still ask, you know, they still ask and they feel like, okay, we're being left out. That's all. I just want to make sure that, you know, they are aware.
Yeah, so that was certainly not the intention, and we will rectify that.
Can I ask just an administrative question? It's my understanding that like planning, we're following a new procedure, and so this comes to the council for first reading, and then it goes to the planning board, and then it comes back. Can you just sort of walk us through that and what the timelines are?
Yeah, under the local redevelopment housing law, it can be initiated through first reading here with council with a referral to planning board, which is actually embedded in these whereas clauses here. And then it would circle back to, after a planning board meeting and a resolution memorialized by the planning board, it would circle back to city council for second reading.
And just to do you have a rough sense of how long, if the council approves at a first reading, how long that process would take?
I might be getting my wires crossed here, but the MLUL versus local redevelopment housing law, it's 35 or 45 days the planning board has to produce a report. So at minimum, it would be that. I would hope that our timing of our meetings don't necessarily misalign with yours, and we would try to get back as soon as possible. before city council. But it'd probably be skipping one meeting is what I would do at minimum, or how I would understand it at minimum, yeah.
Right, and then just to confirm for all of us that if this does move forward at first reading, we have the ability to amend it at second reading. And obviously, if it's substantial amendment, it'd have to go for another reading after that. Is that accurate?
I would defer to Peter, or Corporation Counsel on that.
Okay. Great. I just want to make sure that both if community groups and or city planning and or the planning board have any issues, that the council has the ability to make those subsequent amendments in the future.
Okay. Any more questions? All right, thanks, Matt. Walker?
Hello, council members. I have two first reading ordinances for your consideration. The first one is agenda item 3.3, ordinance 22-020. This is the ordinance, we're reintroducing this ordinance establishing a fee schedule for outdoor dining structures, which is sidewalk cafes and parklets. I do have hard copies of the fee schedule if anyone would like those. Okay.
Just pass the hard copies. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, again, like I said, this is establishing a fee schedule. What you have in front of you in the hard copy is a double-sided page. On the one side, if you look at the top, I'm going to start with the seasonal fees, and I'll just go one by one and talk about all of the numbers. So at the very top in the blue, it should say outdoor dining fee schedule, and then underneath it says on the one side seasonal, on the other side year-round. So on the seasonal fee schedule, the first fee, which is for the use of the space in the public right-of-way itself, which is called the parklet fee, is an annual fee calculated using the existing per-hour meter rates throughout the city, which currently is 75 cents per hour, for a period of 12 hours per day, which is when the meters are active, and then covering the number of days from March 15th to November 30th of any given year, excluding Sundays and excluding city holidays, which is when meters are not active. So this fee is just based on when a meter is active and what the cost is per hour for the meter, which amounts to that number, and it gives us the flexibility of, as meter rates change or fluctuate, that this rate would be automatically adjusted. Below the parklet fee is an administrative fee of 20% of what the parklet fee would be for just processing applications across the various departments that are involved. So this is the fee for any structure that's actually in the street or located in a pedestrian plaza space, not simply on the sidewalk. Below that is the sidewalk cafe license fee, and that's broken up by the number of seats any given establishment has. The first class is for seating for 1 to 16 patrons, and that's $225. And then the second class is anything above 16 patrons, and that's $275. That fee is the exact same as it was pre-pandemic, so that has not changed at all. And this would also be an annual fee, and the license would have to be renewed every year. Below that is a $100 inspection fee, and we require for any new applications for any new applicants that there would be a minimum of 1 inspection required just to make sure that the structure is built and being operated the way that they had submitted the plans. And then for any renewals, we would require an inspection at the time that the application is submitted, and then 2 more times after that, again, to make sure that the structure is operating the way that has been proposed. After that is the traffic permit, which goes through, so I should have said the sidewalk cafe license is handled by the Division of Commerce under HEDC. Next is the traffic permit, which is handled by the Division of Engineering, Traffic, and Transportation. And similarly, that requires a review fee as well as an inspection fee. After that are zoning and planning permits. This is for any structures that are substantial enough that they would require a zoning review. And we've specified here, based on questions last time, that this would just be a one-time fee for zoning. So it's not something that they would have to pay every year, assuming that the structure isn't changing. If any modifications are made to the structure, they would have to go back to zoning. There's a historic preservation review as well as a signage review, which is pretty standard. After that is a construction permit, which is handled by the Office of the Construction Code Official, and that is $15 per $1,000 of construction costs. And we confirmed with the Construction Code Official that this is just a conversation that happens when the applicant goes to the Construction Code Office on what the cost will be of that structure. That's how they handle it currently, and so they would continue to do that. I think sort of based on the honor system, as well as an inspection fee for construction code. And then lastly is a fire code permit for the Fire Prevention Bureau. This is also related to inspections of any electricity or heating elements. So this is the entire fee schedule. On the other side, for the annual fees, the only thing that changes are the top 4 numbers. So because the annual fee covers a period of March 15th to March 14th of the following year, so an entire year, the fee is accordingly calculated and slightly higher for both the parklet fee as well as the sidewalk cafe license fee. I will also add that in terms of amendments to the language itself, in response to questions that we received through a few special improvement districts and Councilwoman Prinzeri, we've added clarifying language to Chapter 160, number 2, the fee for sidewalk sales conducted within a special improvement district, $100. That is not a per day fee, it's a per event fee. So basically what happens is that several times a year, SIDS put in an application to zoning for sidewalk sales on behalf of multiple businesses at a time, and they have either a weekend dedicated or certain days dedicated when several businesses participate in doing sidewalk sales of produce or different things that they sell. And so this is $100 basically per application or per event when that happens. And the zoning division has stated that this happens anywhere from 3 to 4 times a year, typically, not much more than that. And the SID puts in the application on behalf of the businesses that they represent.
Any questions?
Yeah, okay. Half of these outdoor parklets should be taken away and give the parking spaces back to the people. It's a shame, some of them. And all these prices here, these restaurants, small places can't afford all this. This is a shame.
Any more questions?
Sure, yeah, I have a couple kind of suggested amendments. I think that the fees are much more where we would want to have the conversation, so I appreciate you guys making those changes. I do have sort of 4 requests to make, and I'll sort of go from, I think, simpler to maybe more complicated. The first was a small request when we met with the restaurants They just wanted to ask if they can get a refund if their application is rejected. Because a lot of them said, well, I really don't want to pony up, potentially up to $3,000 to $4,000 if the application ends up being rejected and I can't have a parklet.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with that. I mean, in that case, I think we would just collect the application fee for the review itself, but I don't
With the
think we would
$300 fee.
charge the, right.
Sure, great. If we could just clarify that, that'd be great.
Sure.
The second is there a way, I know the fees are kind of listed one by one. Can we ensure that the process is that the restaurants pay either one or two fees? Not that they go to zoning and have to give 100 at zoning, and they go to construction code and they got to give 200, and they got to go to fire, because that just ends up creating you're forcing the restaurants into this sort of bureaucratic maze, as opposed to us saying, you paid your fee, check, go to zoning, and you have your certificate that says you paid your fee.
We would also prefer that. It's really an operational challenge for each division to collect fees. However, the reason it's structured this way is that there are often cases wherein a business doesn't need to go to zoning or construction code or fire at all because they don't have the elements that would trigger that review, and we have that outlined in the outdoor dining guide. So really the idea is that every business would always pay the sidewalk cafe license no matter what,
Right.
whether they have a structure in the street or on the sidewalk, because that's just always required. And then if they do have a structure in the street, they would always pay the parklet fee. So those are the two standard sort of across the board fees, and we try to make that as easy as possible. And then all of these other ones are, if they're going beyond what our preferred standards and design guidance is that we require, then these are sort of like extra steps that they would be taking for, again, the zoning, the signage, the construction code, et cetera. So to give you an example, a business would only have to go to construction code if they're proposing building a parklet that has an enclosure, walls above 4 feet, or anything that's beyond the standard parklet. And so it would just be difficult to sort of fold in all of these other things into that if they wouldn't apply. But, I mean, I understand your point, and we can take a look at how to make this a little bit more of a streamlined process in terms of payments.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what I would envision would be you put that application in, and then you have a checkbox that says, does your parklet meet any of these criteria? Walls more than 4 feet, enclosed space. And if you check yes, then hey, now your fee goes up because you have to put on a zoning and a construction fee.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it'd be fair if we say, hey, look, guys, maybe we're not here today, but by your fee in 2023, we're going to be here. But I think we want to state somehow clearly that that's what we're going.
Okay.
I just, we did this with the Airbnb ordinance, which I think has worked well, but it did force the applicants to, you got to get this certificate from zoning and this certificate from fire, and it ends up being a lot of burden. And, part of what we're trying to do is encourage the folks, I think, to do it for the most part.
Understood. Okay, yeah, well, yes, we'll put in that language and look at that as an example.
Awesome. The third request is a 1-year 2022 Omicron 50% reduction in the parklet fee. The other fees are the same, but to add on and basically say in 2022, you're just reducing that parklet fee and the sidewalk cafe fee by 50%.
We could definitely discuss that. Our thought process was that this is basically like the minimum fees to just cover or recuperate the revenue that could have been generated at these spaces. And so in our thought is that these are basically sort of like the bare minimum fees, and we could reassess in upcoming years, but I'll take that back and see, if you want to adjust them.
Yeah, I mean, I think my thinking here is that obviously restaurants lost a lot of business in the December through February period when Omicron hit. It was over the holidays, so it was over the period of time where they're trying to get as much revenue as possible. But then more broadly, we're still in a COVID environment, and so I think we're still trying to encourage outdoor dining. It's safer, et cetera, and I don't want the fees to be prohibitive, and I think, just running through it mentally, I think your seasonal parklet fee, if you're not hitting zoning is going to be in the 2,500 to 2,700 range, and if you're hitting those other things, it's going to be over 3,000, and it's not nothing, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not nothing, although it's, maybe $10 a day.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, I think our position is that these are the minimum fees, but I totally hear where you're coming from, and, we similarly want to encourage this program. We've seen it being a huge benefit to a lot of communities, so I'll definitely take that back.
Okay, and then the last one was to institute a kind of capacity fee variance. We have that for the sidewalk cafes, where we have that where we said the 16, less than 16 is one fee and more than 16. Could we apply that to the parklets, that very same capacity, and say, if your parklet is less than 16 or less, pay, 80% of what's listed here, and if it's more, then you pay the fee that's listed here?
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, again, I don't have the ability to fully commit to that right now,
Sure.
but we'll definitely
And
take that
if
into
we,
consideration.
I'll just leave this for now. I mean, if we could just let me know where the administration is on Wednesday, because then I can coordinate with the law department if there are any other amendments I'd want to introduce on Thursday, and just to see where we're at.
I'm sorry,
Can we-
can you repeat that?
Sorry, I just want to I'm just saying, can we communicate on this on Wednesday? Because if I want to introduce some amendments for the council to consider, I have to coordinate with the law department and things like that.
Yes, understood.
Great, thanks.
Marco, this actually should be pulled, and we should have a lot more discussion on this whole issue before it's passed. Because there's some restaurants, small restaurants, that really can't afford these prices that
I just think the point that James brought out with during the COVID crisis, there's got to be a way that, I don't know if they can get a discount or 3 months off, something like that. I see that point because they were, they really were making money. I don't know what we can do, but I just think that probably need to be a conversation because if there can't be no middle ground, what's going to happen? Okay, James will introduce an ordinance, and this is going to hold us up again to see exactly what we want. So that's why I'm just trying to let's move on with time to make sure that his desires or what he think is discussed and see what we can come up with, because that's just going to put the council back at square one, to be perfectly honest. I'm just trying to bring everything out in the open, because at this point, I don't want to waste time with these meetings, because you can see our agenda is constantly growing,
Right.
because the city is growing. So we are really tied, and this is like, what time is it now? It's almost 7 o'clock, and we still have to get through all the agenda. So I'm just trying to, circumvent stuff.
Yeah.
So I have just two things. First of all, maybe to capacity issue, maybe this is easier. For the current fee structure, the parklet, is it per parklet or is it per parking space that they take up?
Parking space.
Per parking space, okay. That's helpful. And then I know for Councilman used the Airbnb example, we did put in a sunrise period, so maybe that's the compromise between an Omicron discount and/or something that's going to help cover some of the costs. So I think that to Council President's point, there are multiple ways that we can look at that.
Sure, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Next one.
Ooh.
Oh, go ahead. See, why you always,
I'm trying to be polite with my council
Oh, you
colleagues.
trying to be polite. Let this other subject you like.
Well, thank you, Barca, for indulging us. And I want to echo the sentiments that these, even though these were calculated properly with the proper formula, and this is what it would cost in real life, and business owners should know that. They should know that this is what it's going to really cost, if they were to put a car there, and I completely, they should understand that. I do think that they are in an industry that operates on razor-thin margins in an industry where they are faced with a lot of rising inflation, and I do agree with Bogiano and Solomon's sentiment that it's a little steep right now, and I know that we want to encourage adoption. So I think one of my proposals that I'd like to see is first time parklet adopter, or whoever wants to put a parklet, it would be like a introductory price, something.
Understood. I mean, it's always tough to establish a brand new fee schedule because we're starting from zero, and so the preferred price would always be lower than I think what we end up proposing. So I think we can arrive at I think we can strike a good balance, but I do just want to emphasize that, you know, the city's intention is absolutely to encourage this program. We did a pilot of this program way back before the pandemic, and it was, as you all remember, very contentious. And now it's become a part of our fabric here in Jersey City. So of course we want to encourage that and cultivate an environment where we see a lot of these. At the same time, these are private entities using public right-of-way and generating revenue on them. So, you know, we're not requiring franchise agreements, we're not requiring anything above sort of the bare minimum here. So I do just encourage all of the council members to keep that in mind. We are obviously open to your thoughts, and as the council president said, we'll take them all into account before Wednesday. So happy to do that.
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. The next ordinance I have is also for a first reading. It's agenda number 3.6, ordinance 22-023. This is also updating fees. This is related to the rental of parking spaces, which happens often for things like individual residents when they're looking to move and want to reserve a parking space for a moving truck, or something as large as when construction sites need to stage equipment or whatever else, and they occupy space in the public right-of-way for that purpose. And so this ordinance makes changes to what we currently charge for rental of a parking space, which is a flat fee of $10 per no parking sign for a non-metered space, and a $20 fee for a metered space. So the amendments in this ordinance create basically three tiers, not basically, three tiers. The first tier is for 1 and 2 families and also contractors doing city work. And the intention here is to keep the price as a flat fee so as not to hurt 1 and 2 families and sort of like the smaller buildings and local residents and businesses. So that would stay as a $20 flat fee for a maximum of a week. The second tier is for buildings up to 6 stories, excluding the 1 and 2 family, and that becomes a $20 fee per sign, or sorry, for parking space per day, so slightly higher and a per day fee. And then the last tier is for buildings that are 7 stories and above. These are sort of like the high-rise buildings that have been a big concern in a lot of neighborhoods that are seeing a lot of development, where construction sites are taking up a lot of parking spaces almost at no cost to them. And for this tier, we propose a $100 per space per day fee, which we think will encourage private developers and people who are private entities who are trying to rent space in the public right-of-way to come up with alternate options that don't sort of exhaust all of the available space, and also to appropriately price this space in the public right-of-way for private entities.
I just have a question with regards to so much construction going on, namely in an area of Pacific, and we see a lot of these companies that's doing repairs and or construction, utilizing a lot of the public spaces. And I understand the sentiment here is to, I guess, raise the prices, but more important than that is the citizens' quality of life. There's already nowhere to park. And then on top of already being nowhere to park, We have individuals doing construction, leaving their machines on public parking spaces. So now subsequently, people are faced with a decision to either park a mile away from home or park where they get a ticket. At what point do we consider addressing that portion of the parking?
I think we can do both or a lot of those things simultaneously, Councilman. I think this is just one step of that, is appropriately pricing things so that it's not as easy in their process of pulling permits and sort of staging and doing the construction work to occupy a lot of these spaces, especially when there's a lot of construction happening in a small area. So that's one step of it, but we heard about a lot of these concerns when we went through the parking plan, and there are some good recommendations that were put forward in that we can look into more closely, specifically for those neighborhoods, and sort of talk separately about what policies would best assist that. I don't have the exact answer right now for that neighborhood, but we can also look at that in addition to this. I think this change is sort of long overdue, and the fact that we're charging flat fees encourages, a lot of construction sites to pull permits, taking up parking spaces for sometimes months at a time, and all they're paying is a flat fee of $10. So this is really to address that's happening and to disincentivize that behavior. But I'm happy to talk to you about the other concerns separately.
What's the process for anyone in the administration to essentially block off a parking spot? Let's say city government.
To block off a public...
To bag a meter, like what's the process?
I would argue it would be the same process that's outlined here, where they would need to get a permit from engineering, traffic, and transportation, and then based on that permit, they can go to the parking division, pay the fee for the meter bag or the no parking sign, and then post it depending on the permit.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's not rules for thee and not for me, So that's what's happening up in the
I can't
Heights.
speak to that, but that's the procedure.
So there is a price associated with the parking spot, is essentially what we're getting.
Yeah, renting,
correct?
right. Renting any public parking space is associated to these fees as they currently exist in this ordinance. Obviously, there is the ability to waive them, as we've been doing for the parklets or for other kinds of things.
Okay, James, go ahead.
So, Director, the fees you outlined, the ordinance that I was looking at is a little different, and I just want to make sure we have the right ordinance. So what I have, and again, I might be missing something, but it says A, for residents or businesses with valid construction permits relating to building sites with 5 or fewer residential units, the cost of a sign is 10 per day, and the rental for a parking space covers 20. And then below, for businesses with construction permits, commercial and mixed-use building sites with 5 or more residential units, the price is $50 per sign per day, except that the rental cost shall never exceed $70,000.
Okay, that sounds familiar. That was an earlier draft of this language, which is, you're right, not what I stated. So we'll make sure we get the correct version swapped in. If you'd like, I can just reiterate the 3 tiers for the record again.
Well, the one question I had was for is that cap of 70K in the $100 per day language?
It is not. It's in the language for the 1 and 2 family tier, and then for the up to 6 stories tier, but not for the 7 stories and above, the high-rise tier.
Got it.
There's
Okay.
no maximum cap.
Great. Yeah, so we'll work with the clerk on updating the language.
Sorry?
We should work with the clerk on updating the.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. We'll get the correct version in there, and then we'll send it to you as a separate attachment.
Okay, that's it, Barker? That's all
That's
you have? Okay, John, MUA.
Are we gonna pull this?
No.
Good evening, Council. I'm John Folk. I'm the Director of Finance at the MUA. There's 4 resolutions on the agenda regarding the MUA. They're 10-49 through 10-53, resolutions 21-166. This is a resolution authorizing the execution of amendment to a bulk water contract with Montville. It increases the annual minimum purchase to 200 million gallons a year. They were at 150 million gallons. And the revenues from the increase, the total revenue, annual revenue will be $547,000. And it went up from $381,000. Basically, the city owns the water system, the city owns the dam. The MUA has a franchise agreement to operate it. We have surplus water, or the city has surplus water, and we sell it. The current rate is $2,542 per million gallons. A study is conducted. It's basically cost sharing of that portion of the asset. We can't profit from it. So, but however, if we didn't sell this water, it would go over the dam. The total of all our bulk water comes to $12 million. So our budget's about $70 million, so it's about 15% of our budget, this bulk water. That was the first resolution, Montville. The second resolution is a bulk water resolution selling water to Suez. This is a 3-year contract, and they take 7 million gallons a day. The total revenue from this will be $6.4 million. I'll jump down to the fourth resolution.
Do we know what the status is on the refunds for Suez, or people were told not to pay that line item on the bill, and it continues to appear on the bill? So what's the status on that?
Okay, that is solid waste.
Yes, but it's on the Suez bill.
Yes. No problem.
Could you, wait, could I just stay focused here? Just give me, stay
Can I get through this and I'll go right back to that?
Yeah.
Is that fine?
Okay.
All right.
Finish this first.
Okay.
And we have questions at the end.
Thank you.
But
So
what's this here?
this is a bulk water contract. This is to Suez, 6.4 million. It's a 3-year contract. If ever the city ran out of water, which is highly unlikely, even with all the development, these new developments, they just don't use water. Well, they do use water, but everything's, it's, they use much less than we used to use. So if ever we got into a situation like that, we would then basically ask the DEP and ask Suez not to take so much water. We have take Montville, and the last bulk water contract here is Hoboken. The DEP, New Jersey DEP, would require us to sell them that water. Even now, if we didn't want to do it, the state would tell us we have to, because Hoboken has no other source of water. Additionally, Montville doesn't have any other source of water. Suez does. So I'll go on here to Hoboken. They take, the revenue from that is 3.9 million, and they take 4.3 million gallons a day. The city uses 40 million gallons a day, approximately, and the DEP, we do a calculation that they approve, is our safe yield. Our safe yield is 56 million. 40 million the city uses, so we have a balance of 16 million gallons a day, and our total quantity we're currently, including these contracts, selling is 12 million gallons a day. So we have an extra 4 million gallons a day before any situation would arise. with needing to adjust any contracts. So we feel, our engineers, we feel the city is very safe for future construction. As you know, before we build, we have to prove that there's water. So for everyone in the state of New Jersey. Are there any questions on the bulk water contracts?
Do you anticipate that we'll have enough water within the next 3 to 10 years, depending on the city's growth you saw in the recent census?
You know, I would say we have enough water for the whole city to be built out. I mean, it'd be a 10%. We use 40 million now. We have 4 left over. You know, like when that day would come, we have a 3-year contract with Suez. We'd say, Suez, we can't provide you water. You'll have to get it from someone else. That type of thing. But within the next, 10, 20 years. And these, we're also, as the housing stock is being converted, we're using less water. If a house is knocked down and a new 2-family goes up, it's using less water than the one that was there before.
Okay. And then I had I had the question about the Suez bill.
Yeah. Sure.
Coming back to it because it's still on my bill, and if it's still on my
correct.
bill, it's on everyone
everyone's
else's
bill. Correct. Okay, that was a solid waste charge. It was.
Totally understand.
Okay. Yeah, and it's back on. It was approved. It was approved by the Board of Commissioners.
I'm talking about the last quarter that
Right.
we were told not to pay.
Well,
That one, it's like 150 for me, and it's continuing
yes.
to
Correct.
appear on my bill. The city had told residents not to pay that.
Well, I believe when the city said it was calculated based upon usage of water. The more people in the house, they use more water, they make more garbage. It's a formula, it's a method. So what was done?
Are we
John, let me just cut
removing
to
it?
this, because this is getting, we know it was calculated wrong. We all clear with that, okay? I think the question that they're concerned about, they were told that they was gonna get a rebate or something
Okay,
like that.
well,
Now, all we need to know is explain to the public what happened there. That's it, that's what they really wanna know. And then he'll ask the question, okay, why is it appearing again? That's it, just answer that. I don't need to go do nothing else.
And not just the $12, but the bill that we were told not to pay. It was, based on that formula, and it continues to carry over as a.
Essentially, what's happening is that each person is coming into different issues with the either reimbursement or new payment structure, and everybody is going like this. So when we call Suez, we're told one thing. When we're called MUA, we're told another thing. And then everybody blames everybody else. So we need clarity once and for all, what the process is, who gets a rebate, who is responsible for paying that $12 from the 6-month period, because that's what some people are now being told. Some people are told they get no refund. Some people are told they get a big refund. And we need just clarity, just full stop. End of story. Everybody communicates at the same time. We'll save everyone here and in the public headache, because it's a nightmare. It's a disgrace.
They're told to come to
John,
us.
come on, let's wait a minute. John, answer questions.
All right, so we had this formula that
It didn't work.
It didn't
Where are
work. So what was done is the MUA is paying for solid waste pickup in our budgets. We need to finance that. Okay, so in regards to if you get a refund or not, is that for 2021, every household is being charged $150. So if in 2021 you paid $200, you will get $50 credit.
Repeat.
Gladly.
So that's the sum, like, because the charge was, I think, across either 2 or 3 quarters. So let's say I was charged $100 each quarter, right? And it was 3 quarters, so that's $300. So I would get $150 back?
So if you, that is correct. Now that is for a single-family home.
Oh.
A lot of homes are 2 families.
Okay.
So that is per family. If you have a 3-family, you're $450 a year. If you have a 3-family, a 2-family.
But what if you have a 2-family and you don't have anybody occupying the second floor?
Well, that's, you're still charged for the second apartment.
I think you guys might want to do an infographic explaining exactly what you just said, make it very simple, and include it not only in everyone's bill, but across all social media and in papers in multiple languages.
And I know you're just the messenger, you know, so it's nothing personal. I just want you
Oh,
to know.
John, we know you understand it.
I know,
We're
it's
just trying to
fine.
get answers because we,
Yes,
people are
so-
calling us and asking us, that's all.
So that's, and now for 2022, it will continue on at the $150 rate or $12.50 a month for a single-family home.
And the contract that MUA is assuming
Yes.
is how much per, is it 5 million per year or 15 million? What?
The calculation, the 1250, when we first did the calculation, we did not know how many units were in the city, okay, to you know, hang our hat on. So that's why we did the water. So now we went out and we had our finance people, we calculated all the units in the city, took the total bill, divided it by the units, it comes out to $150 a year.
If you got a leak, you lost.
Yeah. Oh, no.
If you got a leak, you lost. I'm telling you.
That's why some people had $1,000 bills. Yeah.
Well, right, if you had a leak, you lost, correct.
Right.
So they would be getting a refund.
I think I think some of us haven't seen those refunds appear, and people are confused. And I think maybe what the council's asking for is, you know, to ask you guys to clarify, to work it through, to present us with exactly how you're going to go through it before we're sort of acting on all of these different items.
And also, from what I understand, these refunds are rolling, so some people are getting them in this bill, some people will be getting them in the next quarter. So just like, and again, this is not to you personally.
No, it
but
isn't.
Just clarifying language. Most people are reasonable adults and will understand when you explain it to them, but everybody's getting different information at different times. And just take that back, do that work, come back to us, and it will make it easier for everybody.
And place it on the website, your website. I think there's so much that the public could know concerning the situation that happened that they don't know. And if MUA could put it on their website, will help. And make a pamphlet and mail it, you know, just like y'all mail that water bill.
And for people who get
Just
their bills
mail that out to us.
electronically, just put it
attached to the
every.
water bill.
You can. I'm serious. You get
so
your
we
water
can add-
bill. You
something can be
There's ways
added.
you can do it, you know?
there's
We get the water bill. Mail it with that.
And make sure you say what you said here, because this is like, everybody's watching this, so if they get a bill with another explanation, it's gonna be a serious situation here.
And especially because this is what we're now going to start repeating to residents, because they contact us all the time.
Correct.
Correct. They
You know,
do.
with the rolling bills, it becomes, you know, it becomes complicated.
Okay.
You know,
All right. Thanks a lot, John.
there's one more resolution.
Okay, give us that one.
This is on the agenda. It's 10-51, Resolution 22-168. And this is for the city and the MUA to share computer services and credit card payment processing. This is we're going to have we want to have the same platform, so when you come to the MUA and pay for a fee, it'll be on the same basic platform as when you pay for fees with a credit card. When you pay for fees with a credit card, it'll be the same platform, and we should have some synergies by using the same platform. And there's no money, the user will pay the additional fee.
So take that synergistic model and put it back to the refund on the bills, please.
Yeah, they making sure they get their money.
Well, I appreciate it may feel that the MUA is getting the money, but you know, we don't make a profit, and these fees, you know, go to the solid waste. And you know, just depending on how you want to look at things, is that the people who use more solid waste will pay more money than the people who don't. So, you know, it's just another technique. I think moving forward, you know, these types of things will just be used more often, user fees.
What's the status of us bringing this in-house, at least if we were to get enough city trucks, garbage trucks for 2 wards or a ward?
That's a DPW thing that we're already working on.
I know it's
we left
being
you
worked
alone
on. I
with
said,
that.
what's the
We left you
status?
alone. You got another one?
What's the status?
DPW.
So Councilman, just so you know, we have a working group taking a look at it, as the Councilwoman suggested. We can provide some information on that.
Okay.
We are contractually obligated to a vendor right now, so we don't necessarily want to get into details publicly, but we were taking a look at possibilities and how much it would cost. We're doing a cost analysis and just really making sure that we'd be able to cover it and make sure the service, quality of service meets or exceeds current.
Because when we approved Regional's contract in August 2020, I had asked a question regarding if they had subpar services, if we'd be able to get out of there. Every day of every week that I have been a councilman, I get tagged on Facebook and Instagram with trash all over the Heights. And it's a disgrace and we need to act on it. And I know there's a working group, but Regional needs to come before this council and explain everything that they're doing, because they dirty our city, they have no respect for it, so they need to answer for it. And I have plenty of source material to do a presentation as long as this council meeting, so.
Thank you, Councilman. We all frustrated with Regional.
Yes.
It's just that they're always the only bidder, so we have to figure out how we could bring it in-house and do better. That's where we at now. We're working on it. Do you have any more, John?
Oh, that's all.
Oh, John, thank you. Get home safe. Okay, I hope we didn't wear you out, John. I hope we didn't. Come on, Jennifer. Sitting over there quiet, Jennifer. Normally you up front. Normally you about the first one here. Go ahead.
Usually I'm the first one here, but yeah,
Right.
to find parking.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, good evening. I'm here to present Resolution 22-165, agenda item 10.48. This is a resolution awarding a contract to Brightview Engineering to aid the Division of Traffic and Transportation to complete a traffic study. And the specific area this would cover would be downtown Jersey City and General Square. It would also encompass the Holland Tunnel and specifically the Tonelli Circle.
Any question, guys?
Yes, I just want to know, what exactly does these traffic studies entail? Because I'm in so many meetings and developers say that they went through all of these traffic studies and these new establishments is not going to affect the traffic patterns. So can you give us like a quick crash course of, if you know, what does these traffic studies entail?
Sure, specifically this one, it includes a data collection effort. So you would collect traffic manual counts at all the intersections involved in this particular project. And then after you collect the data, you would then model it in a simulation software or analysis software. And then from there, you would do the analysis of the traffic data. And then you can make your recommendations off of that. So you would do an analysis of the existing conditions, and then you can do an analysis for this project, we want to know how to manage the congestion downtown in the Journal Square area. So we would look into traffic signal timing changes and conduct the analysis of that.
Now, do we look at the different seasons, time of day?
Correct,
things
yes.
like that?
Yes, so this is focusing on the weekday and weekend peak hours, so in the morning and in the evening.
Any more questions? Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Rodney? Got a heavy agenda here.
Good evening, City Council. I'm here before you with 3 resolutions. First resolution is 22-130, agenda number 10.13, resolution authorizing the execution of a mortgage subordination agreement affecting the property known as 442 Rose Avenue. The homeowner in this particular case is lowering their interest rate based on the agreement that they signed with the city. They are allowed to refinance provided that the amount is equal to the original first mortgage at the time they closed on the property. And the amount that they're refinancing here is the exact same amount as the amount when they first closed. So we're asking your approval on this.
Any questions? Go ahead, Rodney.
Resolution 22-131, agenda number 10.14, resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the execution of a mortgage subordination agreement affecting the property known as 28 Bright Street, Unit 302. This is the exact same thing as the prior resolution. They're refinancing for the amount that's equal to the original first mortgage at the time they close. And it is also for a lower interest rate, so they're lowering their monthly payments.
This is an apartment, or this says unit 302?
No, it's the condos.
Oh, okay.
These are home
Okay,
condos.
so they have the same buyers program for the condos and the houses, the home buyers program.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Next one, Rodney.
And the final resolution is Resolution 22-132, agenda number 10.15, resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the release of net proceeds on the discharge of the city's mortgage with Anna and Nesty Diaz affecting the property located at 1209 Summit Avenue, Unit 404. We're asking, City Council approved an original discharge for the original owner. The second part of it is that we calculated net proceeds that were being held in escrow by the law department. The homeowner had to prove that, well, the new owner of the property had to prove that they lived in the property for 1 year. They provided proof to the law department as well as to the city that the new owner has occupied the property for 1 year. So we're asking to release the net proceeds that were held by the law department to the prior owner and discharge their mortgage.
Why do we do that, Rodney? Why do we put stipulations on them living in the place for a year before the previous owner can receive anything? Is that the way this program is?
This is a special program.
All of them are special.
Yeah, this is a special program with this particular project. We're talking about emerging market units. We're talking about units that are 80 to 120% of AMI.
Right.
We normally deal with units that are 80% and below. So this is a special one-time program. And so all of this, it's kind of different than what we normally do.
And the stipulation is a year that they have to reside on the premises?
The original owner has to occupy at least 5 years in order to be able to sell under the choice program. And so, but the caveat of that is that upon the first sale, the new owner must occupy the property for 1 year. In order to ensure that that new owner is going to occupy it for at least 1 year, we held money in escrow in the law department. And so we're now saying we want to release those funds that are being held in escrow by the law department and fully release the prior owner.
So the escrow refers to that 1 year of the withholdings, right? Or of the overpayment?
Well, based on a formula, there's a formula based on,
Who money is it?
it's the owner's money,
No, the first owner or the
first
second
owner's
owner?
money,
Oh, okay, that's
So
what
why-
I'm,
that's-
okay,
that's
so
what I-
it's the first owner,
to ensure that the new owner lives in the property for 1 year.
okay, all
They
right.
provided that proof. And so
Okay.
we're just saying, okay, now you totally fulfill your obligation. We want to release the funds.
Yeah,
But why would we do that? That's what I don't understand. Why would we do that on people who are in affordable units that have so many restrictions?
This is a choice program. This is emerging market units. It's 80 to 120%. It's a little different.
But I'm just trying to figure out, it seems like every time I'm dealing with affordable housing or something, they got so much restrictions on people who trying to get ahead. I can't understand this. That's why, who made this law up?
This was originally part of the program that came about under the choice program with the city.
Is it city or a state
It's
program?
both, combination.
Could we change it?
Well, the program is,
No longer existing.
yeah, we
So
won't
is
worry
there
about
anybody else out there on this program?
that. Yes.
See, that's my concern. Because it seemed like we put people through such a hoop that, you know, we say we want you to own a home, we're gonna give you the money to own a home, now we're gonna put all these restrictions on it, and then you wanna release it and sell your home, then we say, okay, we're gonna keep you for another year.
But the difference in this program versus some of our other affordable programs is that the homeowner sold it at market.
Listen, I don't have a problem with them selling that market, because you know why? They need to get ahead. If we keep encouraging people to buy homeowners and get ahead, it seems like we're contradicting ourselves because we keep trying to hold on to them. I don't know. When I deal with affordable housing, it seems like every time I'm dealing with it, I'm finding so many restrictions here. Either we want people to really be homeowners and take the responsibility, or we really don't, because we still have these restrictions that we still have a leash on them, so to say. So that's my concern. So even with a program like that, if they did their time, 5 years, that's the way the contract was, and they were able to sell it at market rate, why should we hold them for that year? Let it go.
Well, there was specific language in the contract between HMFA and the city, and we worked this out with the law department many years ago, and this was the methodology that the city basically approved in order to obligate the new owner for 1 year. So it was.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, I just think it could have been done better, to be perfectly honest, because it seemed like every time I'm dealing with affordable housing, the people have so much restrictions. I never seen nothing like it. So how really do you expect people to get ahead? If we say a way out of poverty is home ownership, but yet we still want to keep a leash around them, so we can't give them that, and we want to do all these other. I don't. That's what I'm saying. I really disagree with that, holding them for a year, because the person already purchased the property. So why would I hold you for a year?
If they sold it up. So this program is essentially, it differs from the other homeowner programs where you can't sell and keep the proceeds at market rate, correct?
Correct.
Certain programs, if you live up to your obligation, whether 20 or 30 years, you can sell at market, and we will end the restrictions. There are other programs, depending on the mortgage language, where we can hold proceeds.
Okay. Let's go on. Thank you, Rodney. I know it's not your fault. I know this is just the system. Thank you. Deja.
Good evening, esteemed members of the council, council president. It's my pleasure to be addressing this body for the first time as the Director of Community Development. I'm here with agenda item 10.16, which is a resolution for the Municipal Council authorizing the award of contract with Civitas LLC for technical assistance to the city with all aspects of HUD grant management and CARES Act program implementation with HUD grant programs. The term for this contract is 1 year with the option to renew for 2 additional years. We are capping this expenditure at $40,000.
Are they helping us with the audit?
Which audit specifically?
Any of the above? I know there's the Boys and Girls, there's the home program, there could be others.
Correct. They can help us in that capacity with audits, financial reconciliation. They're helping with both the CARES grant funding and then our regular entitlement funding that we receive from the federal government.
But are we hiring, I know they can do that, but are we specifically asking them to help with any of the ongoing audits?
They are not an auditor. This is a consultant for our internal technical assistance with the implementation of the grant programs, making sure that we're not overlapping and double dipping funds between both the programs. And he also provides fiscal training for the new staff that we have coming on in the division.
Great, so it's forward looking, like it's helping us on this stuff.
Absolutely. And as a new director coming on, I'll find his assistance instrumental in me getting caught up to speed with all the federal regulations.
That's great, and obviously you're new to the position, and congratulations. And
thank you very much.
What I'd love to work with you in the new position on, and BA in the law department too, is just understanding where all these audits that you're walking into, you had nothing to do with, where they stand, and what the potential liability for the city is on some of them.
Okay. Feel free to reach out, and I'm more than willing to schedule time with each and every one of you to go over what the vision for the division is moving forward and also where we stand at everything. As I'm closing the first 30 days in this seat, I'll be preparing a statement on where the division stands currently.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Deja.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I have one person out here, Gregory something. That's it? Oh, come on, Greg. You got 5 minutes. I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, you could pass it out, and she passed it, you could talk. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody.
We almost finished.
My name is Gregory Edgel. I'm the founder and president of the Bergen Arches Preservation Coalition.
Okay.
We're here today to talk about a budget resolution that Raj Mukherjee has put into...
Oh, that, okay.
That Raj Mukherjee has put into...
5 minutes, that's it.
Yep.
5 minutes, come on.
3520 and 2084. I've included the language for you. Real quickly, my organization and members from our organization for the past 15 years has been developing cultural assets in Jersey City. In the project, you see here a report created by Bill Benson back in 2007. 3 of his main points that would really help Jersey City put its name on the map in the cultural perspective was a skate park that has been implemented in Berry Lane Park, public art murals across the city, and we are now at the 3rd phase, which is the Bergen Arches component. We're here to just inform and hopefully garner support for this bill. We will answer as many questions as you guys have and what we know of, and we'll defer if we don't know the answers. We're a community organization, and we're here to just engage on a large scale.
Okay. Any questions? Because sometimes it's really probably best that you schedule a meeting with some of the council people, because what you just hand out, it'd give us a chance to really read it.
This was a last-minute thing. Junior Maldonado connected us, and we would love to sit down. We've started to sit down with some of the gentlemen and ladies at the table, and we would love to meet with each and every one of you at your convenience.
Okay, just call the office, and they'll give you each council person aid. And this way here, you can pretty much set up a meeting.
Sure.
Because what people don't realize, because when we up here and they hand us all of these papers, we don't have a chance to read them because we're trying to give you the attention as you speak to us, because I believe, that's respectful.
Yes.
But we really can't get into it. That's why, I don't know why people always want to come and do it. I tell them, give us the presentations beforehand, or meet with us beforehand, and then when you can come to the caucus, then we have a full understanding on what's going on, and then we can really have the dialogue. So I'm
Dialogue's
sorry
important.
you waited all this time, but that's what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, John, take it from the top. We only got a few left.
All right. Okay, first reading ordinances. Item 3.1, ordinance 22-018, an ordinance amending Chapter 53, entitled Personnel, Article 11, entitled Fixed Salaries, to modify the salary for the council president and council members of the city of Jersey City. Pardon me while I just adjust the
Y'all wanna
camera
do it? Straight ahead?
here.
Y'all- that's what I said. I know you want it, but everybody.
My preference would be doing this in a staggered
Yeah.
function. We can talk more about it, too.
They went straight ahead, so majority rules. Okay, go ahead, John. They went straight ahead.
All right. Item 3.2, ordinance 22-019, an ordinance amending Chapter 332 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3 entitled Parking, Standing, and Stopping, Article 7 entitled Metered Parking, and Article 8 entitled Permit Parking, to implement new parking regulations in the Gulls Cove area.
Council, I can give a 60-second explanation. The city, over the last couple of years, has taken ownership of streets in the Gulls Cove section that were built by the developers and then transferred to the city. And they didn't have any parking rules in place, so people would park there, and they could park there for years if they wanted to. So this puts in place the rules, and it basically, for the most part, establishes metered parking everywhere in the district. It does include loading zones, and you should have a resolution at the next council meeting when this is up for second reading that would establish where the loading zones would be. And then it moves the parking on Marin Boulevard from the west side to the east side, which is a request of the residents in the area for safety purposes, that they found the parking was right on the corner, so they couldn't see sight lines during the turns. You're like coming out of Sussex or you're coming out of Parkview. I think that should be it, and at some point we do have to add these streets to the street sweeping list as well, so that is done by ordinance as well.
Okay, that's good.
Oh,
right.
also, the one thing, it eliminates Zone 15, which is a residential zone there. That zone was called a paper zone. It didn't really exist. There were only 2 people in the entire city that had Zone 15 permits.
Okay.
And so now it just moves all of it to the metered parking. So if you see why it eliminates Zone 15.
Okay, item 3.3, ordinance 22-020 was already discussed. Item 3.4, ordinance 22-021, an ordinance amending Chapter A352, entitled Enabling Ordinances of the Jersey City Municipal Code, dedicating Columbia Avenue from North Street to Leonard Street in Jersey City as John Seborowski Sr. Way. Ordinance 22-022.
You know what I want to say too, Peter, before I forget? With 3.4,
Yes.
make sure you add Councilwoman Amy G's name on that one too,
As a co-sponsor, sure.
please.
Can you add me as well on there? It's the
You
Heights.
want your name
Yes.
too?
Yes.
Sure, sure,
It's the Heights, yeah.
sure. Put the whole gang.
You add my,
Put the whole gang.
No, he was a community leader in the Heights, very well known and well respected.
No problem. Just add their names, whoever would like to be added.
Sure.
All right. Agenda item 3.5 was already discussed. That's ordinance 22-022. Ordinance 22-023, agenda item 3.6 was already discussed as well, as was agenda item 3.7, ordinance 22-024. That was a late item, and I just wanted to remind the council that all late items must be added to the agenda on Thursday by 6 affirmative votes. Okay, second reading ordinances. Are there, I don't think there are any questions on those, are there?
no.
All right. Moving right along, there will be the public hearing on the 2022 Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District Special Assessment Roll and Budget. That will be an agenda item. So far, we have 11 speakers who have already signed up, but of course, that number always changes the day of the meeting. Petitions and communications, any questions there? No. Okay. Let's see. Officers' communications, there are none. Reports of directors, any questions there? No. Nope. Hearing none. Moving on to claims, meeting claims list, any questions there? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to resolutions. Item 10.1 through 10.4 were already discussed. Item 10.5, Resolution 22-122, a resolution honoring the loving memory of Ioannis Iakimedes. Hope I pronounced that correctly.
John, I think there's a typo there we should correct for before the meeting. I think honoring.
Oh, yes, I see it right there. Okay, we will correct that. Item 10.6, Resolution 22-123, resolution reappointing Joyce E. Waterman as a member of the Jersey City Planning Board. I believe you're all familiar with Ms. Waterman. Item 10.7, Resolution 22-124, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Dynamic Digital Air, LLC, for the purchase and delivery of the Hikvision Integrated Touchless Temperature Screening and Identity Authentication Terminal Access Control System for the Department of Health and Human Services. Agenda item 10.8, Resolution 22-125, we already discussed. We already discussed 10.9 through 10.13. We discussed 10.14 through 10.16. Agenda item 10.17, Resolution 22-134, is a resolution approving the appointment of Councilperson Richard Boggiano as a representative for the McGinley Square Management Corporation Board of Trustees for the McGinley Square Special Improvement District.
Deputy Clerk, can we get a resume for 10.17 for the council?
I'll make sure that's delivered right away. You should look at that one thoroughly. Agenda item 10.18. Resolution 22-135. It's a resolution approving the reappointment of city council members to the boards of the special improvement districts, aka district management corporations.
John?
Yes.
For 10.18, the resolution has my reappointment to Westside Partnership, which I am still on the board for that, but the letter from the administration is for the reappointment for McGinley Square SID. I sit on both boards, so if you could just make the correction to have it reflected it's both McGinley Square, that'd be great.
Okay, I will make a note of that. Agenda item 10.19, Resolution 22-136, is a resolution adopting and ratifying the 2022 budget of the Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City. Agenda item 10.20, Resolution 22.137 is a resolution accepting the assessment role of the Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City. Agenda item 10.21, Resolution 22-138 is a resolution reappointing Sean J. Gallagher as local registrar. Agenda item 10.22 through 10.24 we already discussed. Agenda items 10.25 through 10.30, we already discussed. Agenda item 10.31, Resolution 22-148, a resolution authorizing the public sale of 81 file cabinets no longer needed for public use through the Public Surplus Program. Agenda item 10.32, which is Resolution 22-149, we already discussed. We already discussed 10.33. Through 10.43. 10.43 is a resolution renewing the professional services agreement with the law firm of Chasen, Lamparello, Mallon, and Capuzzo, PC, to represent Sergeant Rosie Barzola in the matter of Donna and Michael Glazner versus City of Jersey City et al. That's Resolution 22-160.
And there were some questions about the spend down on that, Councilman. I will get that to you before the vote on Wednesday. I'm sorry, I could not hear that.
He said he already spoke to you, so make sure you get the
Okay,
information.
I'm sorry, I shut my machine off. Okay. I already spoke to you. I'd like to give me the information because, I mean, it's ridiculous. What does it cost us, $150,000 so far?
I'm very sorry, I can't hear.
It's on, the machine's on.
Okay.
Okay.
He's just asking we get the information by Wednesday.
Yeah, we will get that to you before the vote on Wednesday, or we will pull it.
All right, item 10.44, Resolution 22-161, we already discussed. Agenda item 10.45, Resolution 22-162, a resolution ratifying the renewal of a professional services agreement with the law firm of Florio, Kenny, Raval, LLP, to serve as special counsel to represent the City of Jersey City in tax appeals. Agenda item 10.46, Resolution 22-163, a resolution ratifying the renewal of a professional services agreement with the law firm of Eric Bernstein and Associates to serve as special counsel to represent the City of Jersey City in tax appeals. Agenda item 10.47, Resolution 22-164, a resolution renewing the professional services agreement with the law firm of McAndrew Voto, LLC, to serve as special counsel in bankruptcy matters. Items 10.48 through balance of business were already discussed. So with that said, unless there's any other business.
Motion.
Council President, if there was one matter I just wanted to address very quickly, if the council will indulge me for a couple moments.
Okay.
Typically, when a new council president is that, will you defer? Okay, thank you. Typically, when a new council is sworn in, there's kind of an update that's provided, and I kind of missed the boat on that, so I apologize, but I just wanted to remind everybody on the record as to a few things that apply to the council and specifically and to all employees of the city. Specifically, I believe John touched on this earlier, that you know, as set forth in the Faulkner Act under the mayor-council plan, information that's requested by the council is to go through the mayor or his designee, in this case, the business administrator. It's my understanding that the business administrator will be essentially assigning different assistant BAs to different departments, including the council, and I believe you'll hear about that in the coming weeks. The purpose of that arrangement is multifaceted. We need an efficient operation of government. You avoid costly or potentially hazardous redundancies, and also you protect all parties from potential legal liability. That control extends also to matters of personnel, including ensuring that alleged employee misconduct is properly addressed. It's understandable, given your roles as as elected officials, that you are going to receive complaints and comments from members of the public and other employees about potential employee misconduct. I'm just here to remind everybody that if you receive any reports or allegations such as that, you are to report that immediately to Human Resources, the Law Department, and the Business Administrator. And then these departments will address those complaints on a case-by-case basis. That also protects you because by referring it to for proper investigation, it does insulate you from individual liability. Also want to remind everybody that in 2019, the city amended the city code section addressing the law department's obligation to defend and indemnify employees for intentional misconduct. Specifically, the city will not provide a legal defense nor indemnify or reimburse any employee for any judgment against them if it's determined that the basis was the unlawful exercise of the employee's official duties, and that applies to all city employees. That includes, but is not limited to, discrimination, harassment, retaliation, or any other intentional tort. All employees have an obligation to cooperate with the law department with regard to all legal matters and their representation, including that defense. And failure to do so can and will result in the city's refusal to provide a legal defense for that employee. Now, the law department, again, stands by to address any legal questions that relate directly to city business. As a matter of policy, we continue to ask that all questions or concerns from the council be directed both to myself and the First Assistant Corporation Counsel so that the department can properly assign work, expedite timely matters, and can ensure consistent responses. Just simply put, if it's something that goes to an attorney in the law department that I'm not aware of, then I can't answer any questions. I can't ensure that it's being worked on and that everything is being done in a timely manner.
Could I ask you something, Peter? Because you said your first assistant.
Sure.
Okay, introduce your first assistant, because all of us don't know, and
I'm very sorry.
they need to sit up here so we can see them. We can't see them on the side. All the
Sean
time
L.
I'm
Robinson,
like
First
this.
Assistant Corporation Counsel.
I'm like this, you know? And then the people on the, on the screen probably say, what's with her? You know, she's always up like this.
Hi, Council. My name is Chanel Robinson. I'm the first assistant. I've been working for the city in the law department since December 2013. The only reason I don't sit here is because my back would be towards you.
Well, you have to figure out some way to, because we can't see you there. I understand it, but we can't.
Council, we'll scooch in here and make room.
It's my neck, you know. Yeah, you got that turn.
We're sorry to be a pain in your neck, Council President.
I'm only teasing, but yeah, we just need to see him. We can't, we like this.
Motion.
Okay, anything else?
Peter, can you send us those updates in an email, just so we'll have them?
And actually, thank you for the reminder. It was actually brought to my attention that my predecessor had prepared a guidebook for all council people. I'm working on updating that. There have been a number of changes, both to state and local law. So once we get that updated, I will obviously share copies of that with the council, and that applies to all city employees too. So we'll distribute that and make that available both electronically and as a print version.
Thank you.
Okay. There was a motion on the floor to adjourn at 7:56 p.m. made by Councilman Rivera. Is there a second?
Second.
That's a lot of people. I think Ridley had that, but I'm not sure. Okay, I'll give it to Ridley. Okay. On the motion to adjourn, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzeri.
Aye.
Councilman Bojano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilman Solomon.
Aye.
Councilman Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGeez.
Aye.
Councilman Rivera. And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned at 7:56 p.m. See you folks on Thursday.
Youssef.
Collecting our thoughts, trying to move forward, but it'll be interesting. There's definitely more stuff to come.